Cocaine on the streets, dirty cops on the take, one young blood looking for a way out. All of this can only mean one thing. We're comparing Superfly on this episode of Retro versus Remake.
Parker.
And I'm Dan Bulick. Welcome to another episode of Retro versus Remake. This is the series where we compare movies to their remakes. Join us as we answer the question, should this remake exist? Today's films are Superfly. The original Superfly, made in 1972, starring Ron O'Neal, Carl Lee, Julius W. Harris, Sheila Fraser, Charles McGregor, Sig Shore, and Curtis Mayfield as himself. Directed by Gordon Parks Jr., screenplay by Philip Fenty, and music by Curtis Mayfield. There he is again. Superfly 2018, starring Trevor Jackson, Jason Mitchell, Michael K. Williams, Lex Scott Davis, Jennifer Morrison, Callan K.R. Walker, Isai Morales, Andrea Londo, Brian F. Durkin, Jacob Ming Trent, and Big Bank Black. Directed by Director X. Screenplay by Alex Say, and music by John Actley. All right. Reggie, what is your first experience with either film?
Let's just say this. I've never seen, at least not in its entirety, the original Superfly. I have seen other blaxploitation era films. Just for the audience, blaxploitation is an ethnic subgenre of the exploitation film that emerged in the United States during the early 70s. The films, while popular, suffered backlash for disproportionate numbers of stereotypical film characters. Movies like this would be like, let's say, like Shaft is a good example. I have a soft spot, like, although yes, they aren't necessarily the best portrayal of Black people all the time. I've got a soft spot for the movies because, like, I know why they were popular. It's like you're living in like this sort of segregated, kind of like racialized world, and you've got like this black super guy that can like do anything and like will like tell a white guy to fuck off. You know, like it's a pretty cool genre. Like, again, Superfly for me, because he's not even. I mean, he is, but he's not. Like, for some reason, I had like a pimp movie in my head,
right?
And he is a pimp sometimes, but like he's mostly not. So that was a shock. Like, even when you look at the cover of the movie, like it
right.
seems like, you know, the big hat, the big fur. It's like, okay, this guy's gonna be like out pimping. So I was actually surprised as we watched the content what the subject matter was. That's a long-winded. I've never seen the movie.
Okay.
And then the remake, same thing. Never seen it. I was familiar, of course, with blaxploitation genre and Superfly. So when I saw like the trailer, I guess it was around 2018. I was like, huh, it looks like they may have actually tried. So, you know, it was on my radar, but it's just something I'd never seen.
Yeah, I had never seen it either, and just like you, I didn't really know what it was about. Like, I had heard Superfly. I was most familiar with Curtis Mayfield, and then that song Pusher. I just know that song. I think I first heard it in Cable Guy because it's in that movie for some reason. But just you know, an iconic song. So I just knew it was in this movie. I didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy in this Superfly. I thought he was a cop. I think I was mixing it up with Shaft. I don't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, this guy's a drug dealer. Okay, so they're on that side of the story. So yeah, I had no idea what this movie was about, and I didn't even know there was a remake until you suggested it. So was not on my radar very much.
Yeah, it's funny. Like when you said. I was like, oh, I thought it was kind of like Shaft. I was like, that's kind of the point. Like, it's supposed to blend and be familiar in that genre. And
we were discussing beforehand how we were confused about, like, is this the same director as the director of Shaft? Because it's Gordon Parks directed Shaft, and then Gordon Parks Jr., his son, actually directed Superfly. So that's pretty cool because they came out like a year after like 1971 is when Shaft came out, and then this came out the year right after it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, to have like a father and son direct probably two of the most famous blaxploitation films, that's really impressive.
Yeah, cool. So these films, pretty similar with their plot, but there's some major differences too. So we got plenty to talk about in our comparison. But before that, let's go over a brief synopsis.
Can I read it?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Young blood priest is young, cool, rich, and a cocaine kingpin. He decides to tell his partner Eddie that he wants out. Eddie's reluctant at first, but persuaded when Priest mentions one final score to leave them with lots of money. Priest also tells this to his girls Cynthia and Georgia with mixed results. In order to get the volume of cocaine they need, Priest plans on getting help from an old accomplice, Scatter, who's reluctant at first. Eventually, Priest and Eddie get the cocaine and the money starts rolling in. Things are going so well, Eddie questions whether he still wants out or not. Also, one of the guys, Freddie, gets arrested. Freddie spills the beans about Priest, who had somehow stayed off the radar until now. After getting the info, Freddie is killed. The cops find Priest. Priest and Eddie decide to be partners with them. Things start to really pick up, and Priest is no longer sure he can get out. On top of that, his friend Scatter is killed. Priest ultimately decides to make his move. Ultimately, he's able to beat his enemies and get the cops to leave him alone. Priest can now be with Georgia and live their lives free. The end.
Yeah, there you go. Very brief synopsis. I had to really compress some things because some things deviate in the remake from the original. But yeah, if you want to read more of those, man, by all means. If you want to write some of them, by all means. Man. Pretty similar plots. A lot of the character names are the same, so thank God. I always like it when that happens. So since they are so similar, I think the best place to start is our characters. And who else to start with? And then our main character, Youngblood Priest. So we have Ron O'Neal in the original.
You'll get your money.
Yeah, when? This ain't the first time for you, Trick. I've had to wait for as long as a month on you for my money. Now, you trying to take advantage of me, Freddie. This time your black ass is going to work.
And Trevor Jackson in the remake.
I want my money.
Well, you got a real funny way of asking.
Wasn't no question.
Youngblood Priest. What are your... Yeah, that's a pretty badass name, I gotta say. What were your first impressions of the...
I think your first impressions have to be just the look of the character, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Superfly is he's not even Superfly, which is confusing. Youngblood Priest is let's start with 1972, right? Ron O'Neal, who, and this kind of matters, I mean, doesn't matter to us, but like is a more like a lighter skinned African American guy. You see him basically like you get this like shot panning up towards the guy. He's like, I want to say he's like in silk sheets. You start to see like the hairy chest. He's got a gold chain with a cross on it. He's got this crazy like slick back permed hair and stuff like that. Dope mustache. And you're like, wait, this guy has a look. What's the first thing he does, Dan? He takes that cross, puts a pump of coke on it, and snorts it.
Would rip her, but I love her so. Love her so.
And then you really get more of this character because you zoom out and what's he doing? He's in bed with a white woman.
Yep.
Yeah. For the time, like that tells you everything you need to know, right? Like the guy's, without even knowing anything about him, you know he's a Lothario, right? He's out there. He's women find him attractive. He's got an eclectic style, and he loves cocaine. For a movie that, and we'll talk about this, that is actually kind of thin on exposition and like character development, it's a really smart opening scene. Like you get just a lot of visual right there.
Yeah, you get a lot about that character without really saying much. Like there's nobody, you don't have to talk. You just have to look at him and see his surroundings, and you know exactly who he is. Like that hair, and just his whole like the way he has his sideburns and his mustache. He looks like a fucking lion, man. Like,
right? Yeah.
Right. I was just like, this guy looks like a fucking lion. It's ferocious, that look, but it's also like pretty and permed at the same time. It's it catches your eye for sure, and it's definitely unique. It's a powerful look that he has, and it's definitely memorable.
But see, even that thing he said there, like the lion's mane, and actually the remake has like a reference too. Like,
right, yeah.
flashy look. But it is true. It's like, yes, he does focus on his appearance and his looks, like he's like a pretty boy kind of. But at the same time, like one of the first interactions you see is like he gets these drug addicts try to rob him, and he like makes quick work of both of them. So like it's this dual persona of like, yes, I care about my clothes and the flash, but like I'll also kick your ass. Like he is the king of the jungle. He's out there making money, getting women, and if you cross him the wrong way, this guy can take care of business. Don't let the perm fool you. It's I think that's why this character, even this like archetype, is so enduring, because you know, who doesn't want to be the guy with the nice watch and the nice clothes and the women, but also like, yeah, like that's basically a superhero. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, he's so confident with his abilities and just what he can do. Like he can look any way he wants. It doesn't matter, because he could kick your ass at the end of the day. So it's more than just like a fashion statement. It's just this confidence that he has in him. It's just what a look, man. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you're right. It's that super confidence, right? Like you see me, and don't talk to me, you know. But like it's like I'm inviting people to say something about me, but
right.
It's like, yeah. Okay, I guess you haven't heard about Youngblood Priest.
Yeah, and we do see that too in the movie. Like people like see him like, who's this white looking motherfucker over here? And he's like, what did you say to me? He's like, whoa, you don't want to fuck with him. It's like, yeah, he does invite it, and he can back it up. So you know, it's just part of his character. It's
great, and you know, not to take away from Trevor Jackson, who has to contend with like a guy like literally we're in the opening frame of meeting the character, and me and you have held this conversation for like 5 minutes. Like he's that striking, you know. I thought what actually made me think about doing this remake was when the trailer for the new Superfly remake came out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing like Trevor Jackson's hair, which is more understated,
mm-hmm.
but it's still over the top. His sides are more shaved, and the kind of perm just kind of sits up top, like almost like a bouffant, I guess would be the term. But like it again, not that this really matters, but for the 1972 movie, this would matter. He's more like of a dark skinned character.
Mm-hmm.
So like this element of being like light or white looking isn't part of this character's persona, and I think rightfully so, because it matters a lot less in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely has a more modernized look. Like it's
right.
more about the clothes, I would say, the clothes and the hair, than it is like the man himself. Like he's got nice like tailored outfits, wears chains, has nice watches and stuff like that. Like yes, the hair grabs you, but it's not nearly as like pronounced as Ron O'Neal's character, who just like, even in the 70s, he's like out of place. Trevor Jackson, I mean, if he changed his hair, like you wouldn't be able to tell him from any other gangster.
Right.
I think it matters more that Trevor Jackson is flashy, because unlike Ron O'Neal's Youngblood Priest, who doesn't mind being seen, Trevor Jackson's trying to stay more or less unseen.
Right.
And I did find that sort of conflicted with his appearance. But we'll talk about some of the other drug dealers in the movie, and how you know what, he is maybe the most understated of the bunch.
Yeah, I thought what Trevor Jackson did, just going to the look, I thought it worked. I thought recreating what Ron O'Neal did might have been a bit much. Like you said, it's even in the 70s, it's just a little bit out of place. But still, it's like super permed. I'm just gonna go for it. Like my hair is kind of like it. Like I could like totally just like make my hair go straight back up like that.
Yeah.
So like I was watching this, my wife is like, "Why do I like his hair?" Oh, because it's kind of like your hair. So it's like I kind of have the Trevor Jackson thing going on. If I got a nice perm, maybe I could get my hair just like straight up like that. It's still like pretty to look at though. It's like, damn, that's some fucking nice hair he's got there. So it's it still catches your eye, but it's definitely not as like in your face as Ron O'Neal's like whole look, because it's not just his hair, it's just like the way his facial hair is set up too, and then just those crazy ass sideburns on his face. And maybe it just sticks out because he has a lighter complexion too.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Like it's blaxploitation, right? He tracks as black. Like he's a black guy, but like most black guys don't look like that. And like we said before, like about that sort of the lines made and all that stuff. If you are sort of especially at the time, more like light skinned, as it were, there is kind of like this stereotype persona that like you're softer, kind of like you're more white than other people in the struggle, I guess. So that could undermine your character, which is why I think Ron O'Neal has to like kind of hit you over the head with everything. Whereas like Trevor Jackson, you're right. I mean, look, it's still like you said, it's still a striking look. His hair looks great. You can tell he cares about his appearance, but it's just like it's dialed back, and I think it actually is a smart choice because this remake is trying to tell a bit of a more serious story, I think.
I like the dialed back look. That's a really good way to describe it, and I think it works. Like I said, it draws your attention, but it doesn't distract. Like the original one kind of does. Like I just like staring at his hair the whole time. Like, how the fuck is it like just so perfect? It's like doesn't fucking move because it's so fucking long in the original.
What's the other thing too? Like you would never see this again. But like he's clearly doing his own stunts too. Like you see him like chasing down a junkie, and he's just like his hair is just like swaying in the wind. I'm just like, this guy's gorgeous. Getting away from the appearance a little bit too, I think that both films do a really smart job of, like we mentioned, this tough thing. Both films establish that right off of the top, right? In the original film, you don't really start with Ron O'Neal's character. You start with like these two sort of, I guess, junkies out in the streets. They don't have money, and they're like, well, we don't have money. How are we going to get the stuff? You know, how are we going to get coke? And they devise this really stupid plan, if you know who Youngblood Priest is, to rob him. And like they sneak up on him. They got like what was it, like almost like a bed frame. It was like a post from like,
like just like a table leg or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like a table leg. And like even when he gets rushed and hit over the head with like furniture, basically, he's just like, oh, what the fuck? He beats up the one guy in like submission, chases the other guy down, gets his stuff back, does it in front of I'm assuming this guy's family or something like that. He's like, I don't care if there's women and children here. You tried to rob me. Take your beating, and the guy kind of throws up. It was a cool effect.
Yeah, that was I wasn't expecting him to puke after he got his ass kicked, but okay, I'm sure it makes it more gritty. Why not?
But like this is like the dynamic kind of like hands-on approach, and I think that Ron O'Neal's character kind of demands that. Like him just kind of making someone back down, that would have been effective. But like actually kicking some ass this early is like, all right. We've established you're the man. Like we didn't know before, we know now. Trevor Jackson gets a scenario that again, it's more like laid back. He goes to this sort of like secret club party. You see members of what we'll learn later, like Snow Patrol and stuff like that. And he's talking to this rapper clearly who owes him money, and he's like, "Hey man, I need to talk to you kind of privately, if you don't mind." And the rapper's like, nah, man, fuck that. It's like, we can do this right now. And I mean, you get this cool like interaction where the rapper's kind of like muscle comes up and they're like, oh, do we have a problem? They show their guns. It's like, aren't you supposed to be in church? Does your grandma know you're down here? It's like, oh man, you got an ankle monitor. Like, you're not supposed to be carrying a firearm. And like, he disarms them with the knowledge of like, it's like, hey, bro, I know these streets.
Right.
I know who you are. I know who you are. And if anything happens to me, it's gonna be a problem for everybody. And he talks to the rapper. He's like, look, man, like, what are you doing, man? Like, you're doing videos, you got cars, like, but I don't have my money. So what are you gonna do? And he basically works out a deal where he's taking a cut of the guy's money. It's a really effective scene as well, because we immediately see he'll go to someone else's basically home turf. He's in that guy's club basically, or house, warehouse, whatever it was. He turns off that guy's music of his car, and he says, matter of fact, since you don't have my money, I'm gonna take your car. And he's like, not the car. He's like, yes, the car. It's a really cool, it has the same effect as beating up the junkies, but it also gives you more insight that he's a cerebral character. Like he doesn't have to use force. He can use like his wit.
Yeah, I thought it was a really smart move. I don't know if you've seen Narcos, that series, but it's pretty much how you're introduced to Pablo Escobar in that series. He's confronted by this army or these soldiers, and then he knows everything about like them and their families, and he's asking them all these questions, and like, you know, just it's exactly what Priest is doing in this scene. He's just like, well, you're I know you, what does that cross mean to you? I know there's that, you have that aunt that plays the organ, right? She's been playing at the same church for like 6 years, and he's just laying out these little bits of information about all their personal lives in this sort of non-threatening way, but if there's a heavy implication of this, something bad will happen if anything happens to me right now.
You still going to church every Sunday, ain't you? You used to be over at Newburgh, but now your world changes, huh? And your Aunt Cece plays keys there. Going on 6 years now, wow. I wonder what you think about you having a 4-5 by your waist.
That he doesn't have to resort to violence immediately, that he's able to use his knowledge and just, you know, take everybody by surprise with what he knows. And then they just like, okay, well, this guy's clearly in charge here, so we're just going to listen to what he has to say.
Right.
You know, it's a nice contrast from what you get in the original, which is, you know, it's a long chase. Priest is chasing that one guy for a long time. Like, it was so long at one point. I'm like, I don't think he's ever going to catch this guy.
Oh, that guy was going to escape.
Yeah, they were like going like just running up the streets, climbing up ladders, going over fences. It was a long chase. You know, they did what they could in the 70s. But yeah, it's nice to see someone just, you know, not resorting to violence immediately. So it was a strong introduction, I thought, in the remake.
Actually, as you were saying that, I was thinking, this is a weird aside, but like in the show Dexter's Lab, there's a character called Action Hank.
Okay.
It's like basically the same thing. Like he does these like cheesy, like 70s style chase scenes and stuff like that. And it's like that character is such a trope. And just like you said, it like, why is he chasing him for that long? I don't know, but you know, it worked. Yeah. But I found that in terms of storytelling, the remake is very effective, as you mentioned, in this sort of knowledge is power element. Like, we don't need to see him brandish his gun, right? He just has to tell you that, you know, who I am. And in case you forgot, I know exactly what's going on in these streets. And it's really effective. And you get this cool little drive down the hill, the Superfly logo. He's in the car, and it's just like, all right, Youngblood Priest.
And it's cool because they bring it back later. I'm sure we'll talk about it when we talk about the Mexican cartel. But, you know, it's not just a thing he does one time. He does it a couple times in the movie. So smart way to go with this remake. Yeah. I don't know where else, but I just want to mention that they're both trained in karate. Because going back to the action, I'll start with the remake first because it's a little bit easier. He goes to see Scatter. We'll talk about him, but he does a little sparring with him. So, you know, you get a little bit of that, like, okay, this guy has like some martial arts background. But then the original, you get Superfly all in karate gi, and then they're just, this is 1972 when this came out. So this is a year before Enter the Dragon would come out and like just explode and karate be everywhere. So Superfly little bit ahead of the curve here with the karate. It's pretty cool. The choreography is a little. You could see them pulling their punches, not exactly connecting, but you know, for a movie that came out before Enter the Dragon, you gotta give it props.
That's what's interesting about sort of the blaxploitation genre is because yes, it is centered around Black people, but like they're pulling elements from all these different things. Like karate got popular, like you mentioned, everywhere. It literally exploded on the scene, and like there's plenty of examples of like Black kung fu movies, and you know, the Wu-Tang Clan is a great example of like that sort of mashing of those two sort of cultures. And like you said, Superfly ahead of the game, one of the first ones. They're sitting in their gis and they're doing bad throws and they're pulling punches. But no, it's a great development in terms of backstory, because that's how he's able to kick people's asses. Like he trains.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get a nice fight scene at the end of that original movie.
boy, do we! Like you said, the remake, I appreciate that it's grounded in a little bit more realism. You know, there is like the striking element of the martial arts, but like it seems they're primarily kind of like a jujitsu based. Their martial arts, right? And you even get some insight. I know we haven't talked about Scatter really yet, but like you get some insight because Scatter, who was a mentor of Young Bloods, is saying, "Hey, bro, why do you think I wear a brown belt?" And he explains that, like, sure, I could wear a black belt, but everyone's going to try me, right? They're going to test me. I'm trying to keep a low profile. And it's like, okay, in this moment, you get why they can fight, but you also get more of their rationale behind how they've approached their illicit business. And it's a very effective scene that works better because I think one, martial arts is just advanced so much since the 70s, but two, because not only do you get why he can fight, you also get a little more exposition and background.
Right, yeah, you get the character motivations here. You'll learn more that Youngblood Priest was sort of mentored by Scatter a lot, and then you'll see a lot of sort of Scatter's, like the sort of what he follows is a lot of the stuff that Priest follows as well. So yeah, you get that backstory in addition to just sort of their physical prowess and just how capable, I guess, both of them are, but ultimately how Priest is able to fight. Yeah.
And, you know, it's in the original film, it's kind of more of a sort of like a one-off. Like there's not really a tie of, like the karate instructor isn't some sort of like major influence. He's really just there to be a sparring partner. So yeah, the remake makes choices like this throughout where they take elements from the original, as remakes should, but like they kind of streamline that process, and I thought that was a very smart choice.
I know we were talking about other characters, but before we move on, I do want to talk about our main characters' relationships.
Okay.
Good to know about a man by knowing his woman, and or women, I should say. So I think that's a key difference between these two priests. So in the original, he's in a relationship with Georgia and Cynthia. Georgia's played by Sheila Fraser.
Just to be free.
Will that make you happy?
I don't know.
And Cynthia's played by Polly Niles.
Are you coming back soon, Priest?
And Georgia is Lex Scott Davis in the remake.
Come work with me already.
I already work for you, sir.
And Cynthia is Andrea Londo.
Sid!
What's up?
Now, he's in a relationship with both these women in both movies, but there's one major difference. The remake, it seems like a polyamorous relationship where all three of them are in it together, as opposed to the original where he's mostly with Georgia and seeing this other Cynthia as sort of like a side chick, I guess.
Yeah, this remake introduced this sort of throuple element. There is even like a sort of a humorous moment where Cynthia is kind of like smoking. She's like, "Oh, if you guys don't have like, I guess like the emotional, whatever, like fortitude for this relationship, just let me know." It's like, wait, we're not talking about that right now.
Listen, I understand better than the both of y'all. Okay, the shit that we're going through now, that's what happens when you grow. You either have the heart for it or you don't. We're gonna weather the storm.
I thought there was a funny scene where like they're arguing, like all three of them sort of, but then the two girls start arguing with each other. Then he's like, "Hey, shut up!" And then they both start just yelling at him. He's like, "Oh fuck, what did I do?"
Yeah, it's a bit conflicting, right? Like the element of I'm keeping a low profile, but also I've permed my hair and I'm in a fucking. I learned this term watching HGTV, so forgive me, but throuple. It's like I'm in this like threesome scenario. It's just like, well, that's not very incognito. But yeah, you're right. By bringing the two women together, we do get sort of more comedic elements out of the relationship, and we also get more of this sort of juxtaposition for the Georgia character in the remake. Like they both have their own personality. Cynthia's more kind of like fun-loving. She can handle her own, but she's there's a reason why George is kind of like the main girl in the original and the remake, and it's because she just handles more business, right? Like she helps run the gallery front. You see more times of her and young blood priest strategizing together. You don't really see that with Cynthia in the original. Like, yes, George is clearly like, I would say like higher up in his hierarchy, but like I think Cynthia holds almost as much weight. The only problem is that like he doesn't care about her ultimately. Like there's no love there. So Georgia is his main girl, and it creates a different dynamic, like you mentioned.
I think because in the remake we get one-on-one moments with Priest and Georgia, we don't really get that with Priest and Cynthia. So that's why it seems like Georgia's kind of the main one. But just addressing the whole polyamorous relationship thing, I think that's sort of a smart move. I mean, it's definitely a more modern approach to relationships. What that also does is it gives Georgia and Cynthia a little more agency because they're not being cheated on. Like, let's say Georgia's the main girl in the original, and then, well, he's cheating on her the whole time with Cynthia. And do the two girls know about each other, or is it just, he's just cheating on both of them? We never really told outright, but at least in this case in the remake, it's like all three are in on it together, so they're all equal partners. Nobody's cheating on each other. So that's, if you're gonna be the main character in a movie called Superfly, you feel like he wouldn't have to be like sneaking around and like cheating on his women. Like he's just like, no, this is this type of relationship I want. You're either in or you're out, and well, they were on board. So he doesn't have to be this sneaky cheater behind their backs, which I think is just better as a character trait.
Yeah, I think it's a better character trait. I mean, like in the 70s, like we mentioned with blaxploitation films, like they're not really trying to build like, I guess, moral characters, right? Like by any stretch of the imagination. So sort of him being a cheater is in some weird roundabout way a character plus trait in the 70s movie, where in 2018 it would not be. Like it would undermine his character. And you're right, by not having to hide what he's doing. I mean, there's nothing to hide, right? Like they're all in a consensual relationship. So that is a really nice touch. It lends for some interesting like dynamics, like you mentioned, with the arguments and stuff like that, but also in their business. Although they're in a relationship, they're also part of this business. Like they're bringing in money to the group, as it were. So it's a really cool dynamic, and we get to see the women in action too. Like like Georgia gets time to again plan. Like she's really the one going and affecting different deals and stuff like that are going to help him get out of the game. Like there's an element about Montenegro. She goes to Montenegro for some reason, or the consulate of Montenegro, which is in who knows where that is. But she's the type of woman that you hand the briefcase and she's going to bring back the money, right? Like Cynthia is like, oh, we're getting shot at? Well, let me go get my gun.
She was like fucking Scarface up there, just blasting away.
So like there was a line in one of the club scenes where they're like, George is like, well, I worry about Cynthia being out there like that, and he's like, no, Cynthia can handle her own, and clearly she can. No, it works way better. Like I found that in the original, it was kind of hard to follow George's storyline. I mean, it was easy because it's not that complicated, but like I think by introducing Cynthia first, it sort of undermined Georgia.
Yeah.
And they kind of had to like kind of reverse out of that relationship to make the other one stick. And I think really the only reason that he's not like with her is really because she's white. You know, like it's in a blaxploitation movie, again, in like this sort of class reversal of the times, the black woman was in a higher kind of like relationship structure than this random sort of side piece white chick. Doesn't really work in 2018, so I'm glad they switched it up.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about those characters as we get into other people in these movies. Right.
One last little note I'll make about Youngblood Priest, not that it really matters, but like I mentioned before, in the original, he's also a pimp, or kind of, right? Like he'll send people's wives to go walk down Hoe Alley or whatever, which is crazy.
Now, you don't get me my money tonight, I'm gonna put that young girl of yours out on Horace Road.
The original does not take as much care about the morality of their character. So I just wanted to kind of highlight that that's part of his business, and it's clearly not part of Youngblood Priest's business in the remake. A small note, but I think important to note that there is just that reinforced morality that they're trying to give this drug dealer in the remake.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about that in the original, because he mentions it. He's like, I'll put your wife out there to make money if you can. And it's like, whoa, shit. And that's the only time it's like ever brought up, though. It's never brought up again later in the movie, I guess because they just get so heavily into the drug game at that point. Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't sure of just how much into like, I guess, prostitution he was in the original, right. Just because it's only brought up that one time as sort of as a threat. To make sure he gets money made.
It's aggressive.
It's very aggressive. All right, so let's go on to Scatter here. In the original, he's portrayed by Julius W. Harris.
Why do you come to me with all this shit? After all I've done for you. I done told you I'm getting out of this business.
And in the remake, it's Michael K. Williams.
What color belt am I in jiu-jitsu? Black. That's right. You ain't never seen me wear no belt, do you? And if it is, it's brown. You wanna know why? Because people respect me, but they leave me be.
Omar from the Office, from The Wire.
Yeah.
Omar from The Office. You remember that?
Yeah, I don't think you can bring your shotgun to the office.
So pretty different portrayals here.
Yeah.
With our Scatter character. I'm not sure where we want to start.
I'll start with this. Michael K. Williams, who's a fantastic actor. Let's just start there.
Mm-hmm.
The way he's introduced in established out the movie is better. like full stop. Just he's his career makes more sense, right? Like his front being the martial arts gym works very well into the plot.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at Scatter in the original, Julius W. Harris, who's kind of like, I guess he owns this restaurant club type of thing. And he's wearing like chef's gear. It's not really connected to the game. So it feels like he's very much, like he described, already out of the game. I'm not sure why he's like a chef or anything like that. And part of the reason is because it doesn't factor into the plot.
But his club can get Curtis Mayfield, so he's definitely up there.
Pretty impressive. I guess in a way, it actually does fit the plot, because if we can get Curtis Mayfield in this movie, because that song just kicks so much ass, dude.
Yeah, like, it's kicked so much ass. They use it a few times.
Yeah. Again, I say like Scatter. The original tells you sort of elements about their backstory and like coming up on the streets and trusting him. Youngblood Priest knows in the original that Scatter's going to help him because it's almost like this familial relationship at this point. It's like, Scatter, trust me, even though we don't really get to see how that came to be, right?
Right.
Versus the remake, where it's almost like a father-son relationship, this Michael K. Williams Scatter. But he also, like, as much as he trusts Priest, he keeps him at a distance. He doesn't actually help him get what he's looking for. And he's like, you know, don't forget I'm kind of like the head honcho. So there's this kind of like friendship, brotherhood maybe father-son relationship, but there's also they're adversaries.
Mhm.
Ultimately, it's like you can't infringe on my territory.
And it's justified, his sort of not wanting to help, because he knows if I help you, then I'm pretty much out. And it's exactly what happens, because he goes around Scatter's, or goes behind Scatter's back and sort of just gets him out of the game. Yeah, so Scatter helps him in the original, helps him get like this specific amount, like this 30
kilos.
30 kilos, yeah, 30 kilos. And then we don't really hear from Scatter too much after that until he kind of comes back right before he's sort of killed, right?
Yeah. It's kind of random, right? Like Scatter actually helps him, introduces him. He has like a small amount of weight. I think he had 10 keys originally that he could help him with, and then the introduction was sort of made to the plug, as it were, like the source of drugs. And then you're right, towards the end we get Scatter kind of like frantic because he knows that like this connection that I'm not really describing yet is not going to let him out of the game.
Right.
So he's paranoid about that, and again, justified. So in both scenarios, Scatter recognizes that he should be paranoid about his sort of interactions. Like you mentioned in the remake, he's very much justified, and he's not ready to retire either.
Right.
Versus this original Scatter, who's like, I'm done.
Right.
Do
Yeah.
not bring me back into this. I'd rather not. It's just a different relationship, right? Like that original Scatter, I talk about sort of like the father-son relationship. He's like, look, I know this isn't a good idea, but here's what you're looking for if it's going to get you out of the game. And the remake guy's like, you're not going to retire me. So it's a completely different relationship.
Yeah. So Priest has to go behind Scatter's back in the remake. This sort of pushes Scatter out, and well, he's not too happy about that because he, like you said, he doesn't want to get forced out. He wants to kind of end things on his own terms. So he goes back to his connection to sort of turn on Priest, and he thinks that, okay, this is pretty much going to end Priest, but it actually backfires on him because Scatter wasn't necessarily on the up and up. Apparently he was stealing from his connection. So
Right.
instead of Priest getting killed, Scatter gets killed. And it's just a different way of that he was killed, because in the original, it's just like, it's almost random. Like the cops were just like, all right, we don't need you anymore, so we're just going to make you OD, and now you're out of here. But Scatter never betrayed Priest in the original film, like he pretty much did in the remake.
Yeah, it's kind of like conflicting. They do this sort of double betrayal, right? Like, because you're establishing all these sort of, as much as you can for his occupation, you're establishing all these positive traits about Youngblood Priest in the remake. Like we mentioned, he's more cerebral. He's not prone to violence and stuff like that. But you immediately have him kind of like going find his old friend. It's just like, well, that's not. Because again, in the context of the original, it's like, well, Youngblood Priest wouldn't do that. He always takes care of his buddies, except for the ones that don't pay him money. He'll hold your wife out. But that's different. That's business. This is friendship. And I thought it was strange, right? For him to go against someone, because it really undermines his character in the sense that, like, you've created a dangerous situation for yourself. But I guess he's so desperate to get out of the game that he's willing to go there. And ultimately, because of what we learned about Scatter, he's sort of vindicated in the sense that Scatter's been skimming money. So, he, you know, although he didn't do that directly to Youngblood Priest, he's not a trustworthy character. So
so he got what was coming to him. That was really kind of shoehorned in there. Like, oh yeah, by the way, he was stealing from me, so it's okay that I killed him. Okay, so it's okay that I sort of betrayed my mentor who brought me into this world just to get out as quick as I could. Yeah, it's definitely not as clean as it was in the original.
It was a little fuzzy because Scatter basically has him dead to rights. He's like, this guy is trying to get out of the game. He doesn't want to sell drugs to you anymore. And the guy's like, well, I don't know about that, but I do know you're gonna rob me. It's like, oh, I didn't think we were going that direction.
I was like, oh shit, you just shot Scatter right there. So yeah, I guess it just feels a little bit forced. Like, let's make Scatter look a little bit bad. Don't pay attention to what Priest did to Scatter. Just focus on how shitty Scatter is right now in the remake. So yeah, they kind of did him a little bit more dirty in the remake
They did.
Sure.
They did.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
I find it more like a little more tragic, especially how he dies in the original, because he wanted out, like you said. He was done. I'm just gonna do my friend a favor. I'm done. Now I'm fucking paranoid as fuck because I think they want me gone. They don't need me anymore. So I think they're just gonna kill me randomly. Here's a folder with information. Do something with it because I think something's gonna happen to me. So it's a lot more tragic because he didn't want in. He was just doing his friend a favor, and then he just gets killed because they just decided we don't need him anymore.
Yeah, it's one of those things where like at least the way the original writes itself, so he did it. He was out.
Right.
It was over. You know, and then Youngblood was like he wanted a taste of that life himself. And it is more tragic because he, despite his better judgment, said, you know what, you're my friend.
Right.
I'm gonna help you. And what did it get him? You know, it got him murdered in the streets. Like he just became a statistic. They like forced him to OD, which is even again, in that sense, that's very tragic too, because it's like, who's gonna believe this random guy wasn't a junkie? So it's like it's such an unceremonious end for a character out of all the characters in your movie that has probably the closest thing to a moral center that we can find. Yeah, for a character that's not in the movie nearly as much as we see in like the remake, for instance, it is, yeah, it's kind of sad, you know. But what both of those characters do in their deaths is they raise the stakes,
right?
And you know the stakes were already pretty high in the remake because there's so many different elements that we'll get to. But that was when Youngblood realized, like, oh, there's no escape in the remake. You know, he kind of knew early on in the original that, like, by doing a deal with the Connect, that he was already like gonna have to figure out how to get out of this. And then once Scatter died, he was like, well, I'm gonna have to speed this plan up because I'm next. It's also tragic because Scatter, you know, has only done two things for him in this movie. He's given him the supplies to get out, and he's given him this file to get out. So like all he's done is help Youngblood Priest, and Youngblood really kind of left him out to dry. So I didn't like that about the original. I didn't really like the betrayal in the remake, but I think some of that was residual from who Scatter was in the original.
I was just wondering, like, why in the original, why Scatter had all this information about the Connect and didn't do anything with it either. Like, how long had he had it for? Did he just get it and that's why he didn't act on it? Like, as soon as Priest got it, he's like, I know what I'm fucking doing with this. I'm fucking getting some hitmen and making sure my ass is covered. Because and for some reason Scatter's just like, I got all the information. No, know what to do with it. Here you go. I'm gonna go OD. And so it's a little weird. I mean, it just doesn't seem as tight. Or just So
it's a MacGuffin.
Other than that, tragic character pretty much all around because he just gets fucked in both movies.
Yeah. I mean, no good deed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he helps his friend, he gets fucking killed. He doesn't help his friend, he gets fucking killed. It's like Scatter can't win in any version of this movie.
Yeah, because going back to the remake for just a second on this character, they almost play him like a sympathetic character because like you get kind of like the sad, oh, my drug dealer didn't show up. He's looking at his phone. Like, they're playing him like
they're ghosting. He's getting ghosted. Just looking at the phone, clicking ignore.
Yeah, because you could have played like, because everybody hurts. Like, play that in the background, and then like again, both films don't do a clean job of making the Scatter story arc complete. Because the turn on the dime, he's been stealing, is weak and undermines the character. Here's a file. Bye. That's pretty weak too.
Yeah. So he's got some good things and some flaws in both movies.
Totally.
Let's say that.
But overall, like you know, we don't necessarily do this every time, but like I prefer, obviously, the Scatter in the remake. He's just more fleshed out, better actor overall. It's just it makes more sense for the story, his existence. In the original, he's just not in the movie enough, you know, which is what makes it so sad for us because like all we see is this good stuff, but like, you know, we don't really know anything about Scatter. Like They could have had him not die, and you got the same movie.
Yeah, the Michael K. Williams scatter in the remake, it's just a lot more competent, you know, like we were joking he's getting ghosted by his Connect, but you know, he found his Connect and he brought him here, and it seems like everything was going to go to shit for Priest, but this bullshit thing about he was stealing from me that's comes out of nowhere. And I'm gonna say that's more bad writing than scatter. So
there was a different way to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Because there was no sign that he had been doing anything sort of like that. Like he just seemed like this really competent, like kind of like, I guess, on the up and up of a life of crime as you can be, like pretty straightforward. Like he didn't seem like someone who's like deceiving or stealing or
right. I think that scene works like because like it would have fit more in line with the original too, which is like, oh yeah, I know Scatter was right. I know that you were trying to get out, but like this is to show you that you can't get out. Yeah, and it still makes sense because like, look, if I had to choose between you or Scatter, I'm picking you because I'm earning triple the income.
Exactly.
Know that you work for me, and this is your fate. It works a little bit better than, like you said, it is kind of bad writing to be like, he's been skimming from me for 10 years. Like, has he? Especially considering. And we'll get into this remake has a lot more threads
yes
that it has to kind of tie up before it's all said and done.
A lot of threads.
A lot of threads. So let's start getting into some of those with our partner.
We'll move on, yes, to the partner, Eddie, portrayed by Carl Lee in the original.
You gonna give all this up? 8-track stereo, color TV in every room, and can snort a half a piece of dope every day. That's the American dream.
And Jason Mitchell in the remake.
If you didn't want to expand, I would have never gave him the fucking brick. He wanted to get put on. There's no coming back from that. Now we in the bed with the fucking police forever.
Introduced the same way in both films. A little gambling there.
Like you said, with the dice game is pretty much the same. I mean, I feel like in the original, it's more this sort of push to get out of the game is just more apparent, even from this intro to these two characters. He's like, "Here's my plan. Here's what we're gonna do." And Eddie's like, "Come on, man, look at all this this box with the dice and the money. You want to give this up?" You get like Sammy Davis vibes, like.
Yeah, definitely in the original.
I like this look. He was like. Youngblood Priest is like the paranoid version of Eddie at this point. He's like, dude, this is not safe anymore. And Eddie's like, how could we ever think to do anything other than sell drugs? And it's just like he's a bit of a reckless character in the original film. In the remake, yes, he still kind of has that more like brash, I'm like all in on the game persona. But just like we talked about the difference between Scatter and this, we kind of flip betrayals, right?
Yeah.
Like, Scatter is the betrayer in the remake versus this Eddie character in the original.
Yeah, that's the main difference. And if you've seen the original and you're watching the remake, you think that he's still going to betray him because there's a lot of things that Eddie does that were not okayed by Priest. The one thing, the hit on the Snow Patrol, which we'll get into, that was just totally Eddie. He's like, "Oh, you're my brother, man. They come after you. It's the same as coming after me. This is what I would do." So, like, you know, Eddie kind of starts a war. So, you know, and you think that this rift that's growing between them is just going to keep going because you're like, "Oh, I saw the original where he betrayed him at the end."
I mean, they actually like come to blows. Like, that's
I thought he killed him when he was choking him out. I was like, "Oh shit, he's actually going to kill him this time." But no, he just choked him out. And they really mislead you because he ultimately does join. We'll get more into it when we talk about Snow Patrol. But then he doesn't. He was always on Team Priest the whole time, as opposed to the Eddie in the original, who's, you know, you could see him kind of getting more reluctant to like, "Oh, I don't know if I want to leave. Now we got this sweet connect and we're totally like invincible. Nobody could touch us now. It doesn't really make sense that we'd want to pull out." And then like fucking clockwork, as soon as fucking Priest gets his money, his cut, he's already on the phone like, oh, he fucking left, get him. It's like,
Yeah,
Jesus, Eddie, you're gonna give your fucking partner who you fucking built this empire with like just like 5 minutes? You're just gonna be on the phone right away? What a fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, like this Eddie in the original, there's not really a point in the movie where he feels like a good partner, right? Like Priest comes in, he's like, I got this plan. And you know, I get Eddie's motivation because like, why this is it. Like he's been like a street kid his whole life. He's been like, this is how he's made his money. Why would he get out when he's on top? Like that doesn't, like you've been on the bottom so long. It's like I have no intention of retiring. And you know, Youngblood Priest should probably have just listened to him because the entire movie is just like, I don't want to get out. And they start making more money. I really don't want to get out. By the end, he's like, has to physically watch him take the money out of his safe and be like, I don't want any funny business.
Because I'll be watching you every minute.
Every minute.
Fill it.
Why don't you feel it?
Because I want to keep my eye on you every minute, Eddie.
And you just this reluctant, like, 10,000, 20,000. But you're right. Like he just dimes this guy out so quickly. It's hilarious.
Insane. Yeah, or he has to have his fucking plan like go in motion right away because even in the fucking elevator before he leaves the building, it's already going. But we'll get into that.
I think that part of it is that in the original, like Youngblood Priest is sort of the only person, I guess, besides Scatter, who is not that influential in the film, who understands the danger that he's in. Like when they do make the connection, he's like, we got a connection and police protection. He's like, no, they own us now. Like this sucks. Like Eddie just doesn't see it that way at all.
But Eddie does have an interesting point of view too, because he's like, after Scatter gets killed, he's like, you know, they just killed him because they used him up. They didn't need him anymore. He's like, fine, I'm fine going out that way as long as they don't come after me for a long time. But he kind of just, you know, gave into his fate. It's like, look, they're gonna kill me one day, but I'm gonna fucking have a lot of money and spend it the way I want for a very long time, and then they could just throw me away when I'm done. I thought that was an interesting conversation they had. I was like, okay, he's resigned to his fate. Okay.
Totally. Because I mean, if you think about it, like that is ultimately, it's a known risk of the business. Like the reason Priest wants to get out is because a junkie hit him over the head. But Eddie's like, yeah, I mean, like we sell drugs. That happens to every single person we've ever known. Ever. And it's like he wanted his time in the sun, like you said. He wanted to bask in it. And you know, ultimately if your fate is it's horrific, but like if your fate is, one day I'm walking out, you just hit me with a needle, is that really the worst fate for someone that's lived this lifestyle? I mean, there's way more horrific ways to go out. So I think you're right. Like Eddie is like, even though I'm saying he doesn't get it, like no, he gets it more than anybody. It's like, yeah, of course that's what's gonna happen. And Priest is the one that's trying to like get out of this gravity of the situation. He's the person trying to do this almost like Cinderella story of like getting out of the street game. And it's like, I think to your point, Eddie's kind of right. Like, how do you escape this life?
Yeah, it's tough to really pick between the two of them. I mean, do you like the Eddie that betrays him? Do you like the one that doesn't?
I don't like that Eddie betrayed him, but I felt like even though the character is very straightforward in the original, I felt that he just seemed closer. I don't know. He just seemed to kind of matter a little bit more. Like in the remake, I know he's in the movie quite a bit, but like I don't really remember. They're like constantly kind of disagreeing with each other, and it sort of undermines Eddie in the remake. When he gets his ass kicked, it's not like he puts up a really good fight.
He's like a foot taller than Eddie too.
Yeah, and you know what I think it is actually. Georgia feels more like his partner than Eddie.
Yeah, I could see that.
Eddie he's there. He's ride or die with him clearly based on the result. I do like that he sticks with him and he sort of you know, he plays with our expectations of what Eddie might do. But like, I just didn't feel like he was an enduring character in this remake. I don't know why. Just the actor, well, not the actor, but the character didn't stick with me as much. I just felt like he didn't do as much, even with the reversal towards the end.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, he's because they have more scenes together in the remake, but yeah, it's just I think it's just because there's other characters, and I think because they did kind of raise George's importance in the remake. Yeah, like she's definitely more like he's plotting more with her, I think, than he is with Eddie. And you know, he has some kind of nice moments with Eddie. They're at the shooting range and just having some moments together. He's like, "What, you want a fucking hug? Here's a fucking hug." So you know they have moments, but yeah, it is. I guess it's just a little undermined because of just how important Georgia is.
Yeah,
in the remake.
It's like George is important. They scheme together, and Eddie, like I said, he's basically undermined the entire time because every argument he makes, Youngblood is like, no. Even when they go to like Mexico to like the cartel, Eddie's like, I don't know why we're doing this. I don't know why we're doing this. And Youngblood's like, bro, come on, it's me. I got a plan. So like he takes a lot of the oxygen out of the room, and Eddie doesn't get that moment to shine. Actually, having Eddie betray him would probably sort of raise his profile.
Probably, yeah. Because every time Eddie does act, he does something fucking stupid, right? He's gonna call the hit on the Snow Patrol. He's gonna give the brick to Freddy. Every decision he's made without, you know, going over it with Priest has been a major fuck up. So this, like, even though they're supposed to be partners, it definitely feels like junior partner. More so in the remake for sure. Just because he can't seem to do anything right.
Yeah.
Except like until the end.
Yeah, like there's again, I know we keep saying his name and we'll get there. We promise. There's an obvious character from the Snow Patrol who's basically kind of like their version of Eddie. And he acts more like what you would traditionally get from a character like Eddie. So, like I said, Eddie completely subverts our expectations with his loyalty, but it also undermines, like I mentioned, his impact because he doesn't do anything independent of Priest that furthers, you know, their plot or their you know, their business. So it's just like he's getting drowned out, like you mentioned, by other characters.
Yeah. I have next Freddy. There's not really much to go on Freddy, but I guess maybe actually maybe. Yeah, we should because definitely, especially the way he dies in the remake. Actually, So, and here's a character I kept mixing up with Eddie, Freddy, these two fucking guys with their similar sounding names. All right, so we have Eddie. No, I just did it again. See, I mixed me up. So we have Freddy, and he's portrayed by Charles McGregor in the original.
Priest, all I do is sell coke, man. I don't do no violence. I don't mess with no fire, no gun.
And then we have Jacob Ming Trent as Freddy in the remake.
I got people in Cashville. They can move whatever the fuck we throw at them.
You got your lane, Freddy.
We don't need these motherfuckers, man.
Shut the fuck up, man.
Pretty important character in both films.
I'll start with the original because I felt, even though, like I said, the remake does a good job of fleshing characters out a little bit more, I actually think this is one of the few times where the original is more fleshed out than the remake. We know quite a bit about this Eddie.
Freddy. It's hard, man, when the names are too similar. It's so hard.
All right, we know a few things about Freddy, or Fat Freddy, as they call him.
We'll just say Fat Freddy. That'll help us.
Yeah, it might. It's a little mean, but it'll help remember the character. So like this Fat Freddy is opposed to violence. Like he really, really doesn't want to get involved with violence, and he's forced to because he's come up short again with Youngblood's money. So it's like, look, it's either his wife or your wife or your life kind of situation. So he's forced to do more or less like a robbery of a rival sort of a drug dealer in Jersey or something like that. I don't know how they're rivals in that scenario. But, he also has this violent streak. And maybe that's why he doesn't like violence, because like he's beating a guy half to death in the streets because somebody touched his wife. But that interaction creates a scenario where like Freddy gets picked up by the cops. And again, like I've literally probably described a majority of what he's done in the film already. But by getting picked up by the police, he's put in a situation where it's like he could do 20 years easily for, you know, having drugs on him because he's just one of the Priest's dealers basically, and he he gives Priest up to the cops. He's like, look, here's who my boss is. Here's what they're doing, where they stay. So like, he betrays the gang. I mean, he's basically tortured. He's beat up and all that stuff, and that's how they get the information out of him. It's super important because now this cop knows who Youngblood is, and what we don't know yet as an audience is this is the corrupt cop that is also the plug, as we say. So Fat Freddy, who is more or less a minor character, becomes a major character because he's set in place the events that'll lead young Priest to be indebted to corrupt cops. In the remake, this is a little bit harder to navigate, but we get a situation, as you mentioned, the Snow Patrol, which will be talked about, has effectively done something really stupid. Like they've shot a young woman, an innocent bystander, and Freddy is affected to do the hit, so he doesn't have that same aversion to violence in this remake.
Let me show you this combo I'm working on. This for you too, bro. You know what I'm saying? I don't do all that kung fu shit. I'm a real man. You feel me?
Which again sets in motion a couple of events in the film. One, this Snow Patrol that we'll discuss is now mad at Youngblood's group because of Freddy's hit, and also Freddy. I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances of the hit, but he gets hit in the remake. Are you able to kind of
how the cops get him?
Yeah, I kind of.
Oh, it's intense. It's intense. Well, first of all, there was a party at Priest's house, and Freddy brought his side piece there, and his wife, I'm assuming, finds him there, and then the wife and the side piece just start going at it. Madness party. Okay, sure, whatever. But that leads the wife to go to the Snow Patrol, which we will talk about. She goes to Snow Patrol and she goes, so I have his GPS and looks like he was here at this time at this location, and that maybe looks like he killed your boy, and so Priest lied to you because this is where he was. And so that's what sets them to go, okay, we're gonna go to war with Priest and his people. So you have that hothead who's ready to kill Freddy, but fucking Freddy, he's driving with his side piece, getting some roadhead, and wouldn't you know it, a cop sees him, pulls him over, and this is after Freddy was like talking to Eddie. I got that right? Okay. That he wanted a bigger role, and so Eddie's like, all right, here, I'll give you a brick. See what you can do with it. And fucking, again, this was without Priest knowing, and fucking idiot Freddy got pulled over. And this is the only this part I was laughing at, because he got the cop singing "Riding." He's riding dirty while he's looking through the fucking car. Like, what a prick!
They keep me rolling. They hating, patrolling. They trying to catch me riding dirty. Trying to catch me riding dirty.
Oh, it was so funny. So he discovers the brick of cocaine, and instead of arresting him like would happen, he gets taken to his partner, and then she decides, all right, so who's you? I don't know, I don't care who you are, this is too pure, who gave this to you? And then Freddy doesn't necessarily give it up, but his side piece does, because he's about to get shot, and they're like, tell us the names or you get shot. So she's like, oh, it's Eddie and Priest. And then the cop's like, what? That's the two names I did not know before today. Yep. So then the cop brings them back to the car, the initial cop who stopped them, the male cop, and then he drops them off. They start to drive away, but he pulls them over again. And then he's like, what the fuck is happening? I can't believe this shit. And the guy's just like, license and registration. He's like, are you fucking serious? He's like, what are you doing with that gun? Put that gun away. He's like, what are you talking about? And then the cop just fucking blows them both away. It was intense.
It's a pretty intense scene. Yeah, you get this sort of almost like ripped from the headlines type of event where it's like dirty cop, basically planting false kind of like evidence on black couple. But like, it's all to just clean up loose ends. It's like, all right, I don't need this guy going back to his guys, giving them the heads up. We're gonna figure out this Priest and Eddie thing ourselves. And he murders this couple in cold blood. Yeah. And that's a very interesting intro to our corrupt cops in this film. Again, this minor character in both films that is more or less there, the spark that begins sort of what could be Priest's downfall. It's works a little more convoluted, like you mentioned in the remake, but it works really well into weaving this element into the storyline, because the remake is doing a lot of heavy lifting for itself by like there are far too many competing interests, depending on who you're asking.
Right.
Because like I said before, the original movie is, I went out, you can't get out. I'm gonna get drugs from Scatter. All right, thanks, Scatter. Oh no, now these cops want us. Oh boy, how are we gonna get out of this? And however he does.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I've got potentially Eddie, because we don't know, right? It's like, I've got potentially Eddie going against me, Snow Patrol, who we'll talk about.
Got the Mexican cartel, who we haven't gotten to either.
Corrupt cops and Scatter. Now you got to add Scatter to the list. So like, yeah, there's a lot here, and we're kind of like, at this point, we're kind of like the midway point in the movie when Fat Freddy in both films gets caught in their own way. That's Freddy.
That's Freddy. We didn't talk about how he died in the original, which is just a random kind of death, because he spills the beans about Priest and Eddie, and then I guess they were going to drive him somewhere. I don't exactly know, because I thought they were already at the police station where they interrogated him, but I guess they're taking him to a prison or jail. I don't know. They say book him, so I assume they're just going to drive him to jail or something. Yeah. But Fat Freddy tries to make a break for it, randomly gets run over by a car, and that's just kind of his demise. So random deaths like that are never satisfying, I guess, to say.
It's again, it's that movie's version of like, well, this character has fit it's their narrative purpose, and instead of just like not having them in the movie anymore, we'll just kill them, because like, I don't know, I think it's meant to raise the stakes, but to your point, it's kind of random and silly. Yeah,
because it is completely random. It doesn't. I get it, for me. It didn't feel like it really raised the stakes, because it was sort of a random death. If the cops had actually killed him, that would have made it.
That would have correct. Yeah. Or even if like, I mean, a movie that was more sort of ambitious with its story may have like made him like some kind of informant or something like that. But that is, this blaxploitation film does not have time for unnecessary plot elements. Let's focus on the Superfly guy, this young blood. Certainly, in terms of scope and story narrative, the Freddy in the remake is the stronger character. There are elements of the original that I was going to say, well, I kind of think that he's important, but he's really not, because they would have met that cop anyway if he was the Connect the entire time. So it's kind of a pointless interaction, really. If you think
because the cops are the Connect. So it's so fucking weird that they had to go this way to get it, because they already had the Scatter connection at the same. It was a little muddy there for me.
Yeah, because then the cop sort of implies that like, I would have found you anyway. So it's like, all right.
So this guy is randomly dead for no reason.
We just killed Freddy. Yeah, Freddy got a bad beat in the original. I mean, in both, clearly. But the Freddy thing too in the remake, which I guess we'll talk about, is Freddy's death elevates this cop to like hero cop status. So that's a problem for Priest as well. Minor problem, but it is a problem that like some of the tactics that maybe he could have used to get rid of like a dirty cop are off the shelf, because he was attacked by Freddy in the line of duty. As, this narrative that they made up, basically. Yeah, it's kind of fucked.
There's some social commentary in the remake for sure, just to, unarmed black people getting shot, and it's very, very poignant, very real in our times. And we'll also get into other stuff with like Confederate statues later too. There's some social commentary, not necessarily sprinkled throughout the movie. It started like in your face throughout the film. So
even like the mayor, like the corrupt mayor and stuff like that, like which again, this remake wants to add so many elements, so many like sort of like these hinge points where like Priest could fall into any set trap in the movie. So there's just a lot going against him in this film versus the more streamlined original that we discussed. Should we talk about the Snow Patrol?
Snow Patrol, it's Snow Patrol time. Let's do it.
Right. Snow Patrol is not in the original film.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the closest thing, this doesn't work at all, is there is a random moment where Youngblood is on kind of like the come up after he gets his 30 keys, and basically like a group that would more or less be the equivalent of maybe like the Black Panthers is like, say, brother, you're selling a lot of drugs in the community and we need our cut. And he's like, you motherfuckers better not.
I ain't giving you shit.
Ask me for shit. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you won't get a dime from me. It's like, yeah, we'll see. And then they never come back.
That's your Snow Patrol.
That's my Snow Patrol from the original. Black militants that talking about social commentaries, like, until you hand me a gun and we go down and start killing whitey one by one, I don't want to hear shit about your marching speeches and your.
I'll tell you what you do. You go get you a gun. And all those black folks you keep doing so much talking about get guns and come back ready to go down, and I'll be right down front killing whitey.
Jesus, man.
Yeah. There you go. More social commentary.
Social commentary.
Absolutely. I forgot about that amazing scene.
Yeah. It's easy to forget. It's like
yeah, that just kind of comes out of you when you're ready, got the guns and march down, kill Whitey. I'm there, brother. But until then, fuck off.
Fuck off. I'm doing coke and banging white chicks.
Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yeah, that's a great scene in that original film for sure.
I love that scene. I just love that is like peak blaxploitation monologue. Oh man, kill white. Can't believe that's my reaction. So anyway, there is no Snow Patrol in the original.
That's the whole point of that story. There's no Snow Patrol. We just wanted to mention this awesome scene in the original.
Yeah, I could not. It's the only place I could shoehorn that. In the remake. So, I talked about Youngblood's kind of intro where he's at this kind of rap album party sort of at the beginning. And then he immediately leaves that party to go to his own club.
Cynthia works there. I don't know if that's if he owns that.
I don't know if it's his, but like
I didn't get the sense that he
somehow.
owned it. I just know that Cynthia was there. She was his eyes and ears there. That's all I know. I don't know if he necessarily owned it though.
Nah, yeah, I guess maybe that's just Cynthia's hustle was like she worked at that place and
yeah,
kind of an enforcer there, subtly.
Because I feel like if you were the owner of that strip club and a girl just got shot outside, you'd be in pretty deep shit.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, I guess there was like that business element, but now that, to your point, now that I'm thinking about it, it wasn't like necessarily like part of the empire. It's just like she doesn't like, hey man, if we're gonna be working here, we better be bringing in some money. So we get to this club scene and Snow Patrol. There's like these guys in like all white outfits.
Yeah,
that, like,
because they're the Snow Patrol.
Of course. And like all they're doing, like I was watching Free and she was kind of laughing. It's like all they're doing is just like tossing money while having conversations. Hey man, what are you gonna do about this priest? I don't know, bro, but we making too much money.
All day, they just make it rain in that fucking
so
Snow
good.
Patrol. Oh my god, so many times in this movie, just so much of this movement going on.
There was one scene where like one of the guys had something in their hands and Bree was like, what is that? I was like, it's a money gun. These guys, they got to let everyone know how much money they have by throwing it in the air. But
yeah,
the main people from Snow Patrol we get introduced to are Kaylin K.R. Walker as Juju.
Get the fuck out here now!
Sort of like a young, kind of like brash character.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got Big Bank Black as Q.
You mean I would whack that bitch, but that's me, not you. You need to let that shit go. You fucking up my money.
Who's kind of like our leader. And Q is basically like, his whole message throughout the movie is like, chill, Priest is making money. We're making money. Hey, we're Snow Patrol. Look at it.
we got matching outfits and everything. Come on, this is cool, right? Like the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, seriously. But like Q recognized that like going to war with Youngblood Priest doesn't benefit them in any way. It's like we're all eating, we're all got our matching white outfits and our white guns and our white motorcycles and
our
cars.
white mansions.
And it's just like we've made it. But Juju has like aspirations. Like you see this guy who just like he sees Cynthia and he's like, oh, I want that. But like that's Priest girl. And he's what we in the streets would call a hater. He's just kind of sitting there getting drunk and getting upset about what he's seeing, which like doesn't really make sense. It's like you've got plenty, but
well, it makes sense if you're drunk. If you've ever been drunk, you just get upset. That's what
true.
you do when you get drunk.
That's true. And then Chris Brown makes a cameo. He's in the Snow Patrol.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, easy to miss. Q tells Chris Brown's character, who I don't even know what his name is, to keep an eye on Juju because he's been drinking. And once they get outside the club, like Priest is out there with Georgia and Cynthia, like his girls. Juju wants to start a fight, and Priest is like, "Come on, man." The hair, the outfit, you really want to do this? And he just starts kicking the shit out of Juju outside the club. And Juju goes to shoot him. And then Priest, who's just too smooth, Matrix style, dodges a bullet. But it goes directly into the gut of a woman that just happened to be like leaving the club. And like Priest hands that woman a stack of money and says, take her to the good hospital, not the one where they send black people normally, the good one, which I bet you didn't know. That was social commentary too.
Oh, I did not know that one.
Yeah. I want to take a moment here because I'm getting excited about Snow Patrol.
Okay.
Say that this movie is what we would call, we talked about blaxploitation movies. This is what we would call like a hood flick. It is a movie with really good production value, actually. But it's a movie that's basically like a street tale, the tale of a drug kingpin or something like that who has either some sort of redemption arc or some plan to get out. They're very common. A good example of this type of movie would be like Paid in Full is a good example with Mekhi Phifer. But like, I'm saying all that to say that like this is a very black film in a way that like it's not blaxploitation, but it's like the fact that you have Chris Brown, the fact that you have like a big boy who plays a character, the entire cast is like for the most part is black. Like it's a very specific type of movie. So I wanted to kind of point that out. I don't really know what to say about that other than like the director is typically does like music videos and stuff like that. So like this is very much a movie that comes from the streets. I would actually be interested to see how this was produced and made, really. But that's a long-winded way of saying that like when he told them to go to a different hospital, there's like little sprinklings of elements in the story that if you're from what we would call a more urban audience, you would be locked into in a way that you wouldn't be if you weren't necessarily like aware of some of these references.
Well, I don't have health insurance, so I haven't been to a hospital in years.
There you go. Like, you know, it's like little things like that, like the like your mom playing the organ at church. Like that's kind of like a street sort of story. But again, long-winded way of saying that like this type of character, this Juju character, is very much the type of character that would be in that type of film. Someone that wants more than they should have, that does reckless stuff, and by shooting this woman, he's now set this sort of stage where he's going to come down on all of them, right? Snow Patrol, Priest, everybody. Like you just shot some chick. Like that's not going to end well.
This is the motivation in the remake for Priest to want to get out, as he realizes he almost got shot, and like you just mentioned, now everything's going to get out there. They're going to ask questions, find out who these people are. So he feels like his time's running out. So this is the catalyst in the remake for why he wants out of the lifestyle.
Yeah. Because as much as I'm sure Priest has seen people get killed, and you know, he also mentioned it's not the first time I've been shot at, but this really seems to affect him per his conversation with Georgia. And you're right, like it's a better than some random junkies that don't come back in the movie hitting you over the head. And the Snow Patrol group has this sort of conflict of, with Q in place, they're not really gonna do anything ultra reckless. Like Juju is far too reckless to be the leader of this group. And Q was constantly saying, like, yes, I don't like what's happened, but we can't make assumptions about Priest and we can't go to war with him. And eventually Juju's goal is to push them into that direction, to start this fight with Priest and Eddie and to basically become the cocaine kings of Atlanta, more or less. So it's an interesting dynamic. Although I think it's really dumb that they're the Snow Patrol and they wear all white.
Yeah. I was trying to think of, do we really need this sort of rival gang, like overall?
No.
Just thinking, about their impact in the story. I mean, other than killing Cynthia, they don't really help the story really progress forward. I feel like it could have been sort of a combination, or you could have maybe merged them with the Mexican cartel somehow, or somehow the corrupt cops still. But I just feel like overall the inclusion of a rival gang like the Snow Patrol, ultimately probably could have been consolidated somehow, just to change some things. So they didn't need to be in the movie ultimately at the end of the day, because it's like you got that Juju, he's like the main focus, and then his only motivation, his only emotion is, I want to kill Priest. That's like all he fucking talks about every fucking time you see him. So he's a really one-dimensional character, and he becomes the leader, even though it's like I don't exactly know the hierarchy in Snow Patrol. Like, was he necessarily lined up to be the next guy? He seemed like a pretty low
level.
Yeah, exactly. He seemed like very low level guy, because he couldn't. You're gonna get the girls, right? You know, if he was one of those top guys like Priest, you'd be able to get any girl. But he just seems like, well, I can't get any girls, so I hate all the guys I can get. He seemed like an incel. I'm not gonna lie. So I was just a little confused. Like, well, okay, so he's suddenly the leader. I know they talked about it a little bit maybe before the shooting, but like, well, that's just, they're just talking. We're not having a meeting about who's necessarily going to be the next in session. Who's going to be the next leader. So I don't know. It seems a little weak. I mean, it's fun to have a rival gang and to ultimately see them get their comeuppance. But overall, I think it could have been consolidated, because in addition to them, like the runtime is a little bit longer in the remake. Sure. So I think we could have figured something out to make it a little bit shorter and not necessarily include as fun as they are, the Snow Patrol. I ultimately don't know if that they were necessary.
I don't think that they're a necessary element. I think that really the only purpose they serve is to be kind of like the fodder for like action scenes. Like the barbershop shooting scene is pretty intense. The chase, like you mentioned, Confederate statues and stuff like that. There's a scene where they're basically, Cynthia gets killed by the Snow Patrol because they, like you mentioned, put 2 and 2 together about the Freddy hit and everything like that. So it's like you get this wild like shootout, you get this wild chase scene through Atlanta, and I think it's because the movie wasn't like trying to do the Mexican cartel in Atlanta. I think that's a little bit, although it's not that hard to pull off. I'm not sure why they didn't just choose to do that. I don't know. It's a strange inclusion. I did overall enjoy the kind of the stupid rival gang, but like,
I enjoyed it too, but it doesn't necessarily push anything forward.
Not even a little bit, actually. Like not at all. Even like the Q character, like perhaps if Juju had betrayed Q and that's how he got to the top, that would have made more sense. But like, it was a loose end that didn't have to be there at all. And you take them out of the movie, it's the same movie.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a good point though. They do have like the action scenes, like that chase was pretty intense. That was pretty cool. Like Priest is driving. Georgia's in the passenger seat. He's like, get the gun out, blind him. He fucking pulls like a fucking drift move. She's like got this fucking badass slow motion shot where the gun just aiming, shooting it at Q that he can't see. So he crashes into a Confederate statue. Car explodes immediately. The statue's destroyed. It's a wild scene. It's fun as hell, but
it was a really well produced scene. I mean, like these two sort of like they're not Lamborghinis, but like these two sort of like sports cars.
Yeah.
Like drifting on the grass in the park and stuff like that. People running out of the way. Like it's a really good scene.
Yeah, you got Priest's car is black and then the Snow Patrol's is white, so it's visually pleasing just to see those contrasting colors.
And Juju's car flips over for like no reason.
Juju's car flips over so he doesn't die at that exact moment.
Basically. So I think one of the reasons why we kept saying we'll get to the Snow Patrol is because there wasn't really much to go over, but they have to be talked about. Like
they get a lot of screen time. A lot of screen time. So you really got to talk about them. Maybe we should go on
about the cartel.
What's up?
We didn't really talk about the cartel.
We didn't talk about the cartel. We didn't talk about the cops either. I wasn't sure if where we should go.
I would say the cartel because to me it's sort of like the Snow Patrol.
Okay.
The cops. We could wrap that up pretty quickly.
Okay. All right. So in addition to the Snow Patrol making an appearance or a new appearance in the remake, we also have this Mexican cartel, which was included, and it's sort of left vague as like who all these people are, but we are introduced to sort of a leader, and that's Sai Morales as Adalberto Gonzalez.
There's no way you're leaving the game. Good night, Priest.
This is the connect that Priest had to find. He had to go behind Scatter's back to find this guy. And then they play a pretty big role in the film.
So you get this sort of this conversation with Scatter and Priest after they glove up and kind of fight, and Scatter ends up winning. So visually showing us he's still the top dog. They basically Priest and Eddie end up tailing Scatter to like Houston, sort of. They are looking for this drop off, and then they take it even further and go to Mexico, where Priest is trying to tail this plug. They've been made almost immediately. Priest ends up getting stuffed into a truck, and then eventually put on a fucking jet, like a private plane. And they open the door of a private plane, to like threaten his life. But like more or less, we learn. This is just another example of although Priest is in a bad situation, his knowledge is being weaponized, and he's like, "Look, man, you can kill me, but this is what I know about you." And he talks about his brother and his mother and stuff like that, not in a threatening way, but in a hey, like I respect your business type way. And he's able to convince this guy that he can more or less triple the output of what Scatter's been doing. The guy's like, well, if you think you can, I mean, we'll give you a shot. Here's a bunch of bricks of coke, and I expect my money. So it's different than, like you mentioned, the original. I guess we might as well kind of loop these guys in now too. In the original, where the corrupt cops are the plug. Morales' Mexican cartel brings an element of menace and danger to the film that permeates. They, like you mentioned, they do have a big role, but again, this remake splits that that menace between so many characters. I guess to even talk about the cartel, it may make sense to bring up the cops now.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of cops in the original. When I looked at the cast listing, this was the only one on Wikipedia, so it's the only one I'm going to mention. So we have Sig Shore. He's billed as Michael Richards as the Deputy Commissioner Reardon. This is the guy whose name was in the folder when Scatter handed it to Priest.
What else can you do? You're making more goddamn money than you ever made in your life.
You just want to be another two-bit black junkie.
In the remake, we only really have two cops they focus on. That's Jennifer Morrison as Detective Mason.
Eddie, most of your texts and calls are to this guy. Can't be your boyfriend. You got way too many pussy pics to be on the down low. What is he, your connect? No. See, you're not connected. It's your boss, right?
And Brian F. Durkin as Officer Turk Franklin. He's the one that killed Freddy.
They see me rolling. They hating.
Yeah.
These are our corrupt cops.
Jennifer Morrison sort of fills the role that it's not Reardon in the beginning, but kind of like that main detective.
Right.
Phil's like he's just like he'll beat up in the original they'll beat up Freddy and like leave him for dead more or less. And Jennifer Morrison she's got this like mad like rageful personality where just like she'll do anything. Like I don't know a lot about her other than like kill that guy, fuck over this person, like I'm the boss. Like she's ruthless is the word I'm looking for. And is able to kind of portray that pretty quickly, but there's not much more to her than that. I guess she's somewhat less ruthless than Durkin's Turk Franklin character. Like,
right. Yeah. If you had to put like the good cop, bad cop dynamic to these two corrupt cops, she's sort of the good cop just because she didn't kill the other guy, and she's sort of like, in a weird way, kind of trying to relate to Priest. Like, you think this is bad, I gotta work with him all day. Like she's like sort of throwing out like weird quips like that, but even though they're both very bad and corrupt, but like she's at least, you can at least communicate with her, and she's mostly down to business, while the other one just seems like a loose cannon almost at points.
Yeah, and Reardon more or less he's not really that important. Like what's important is that he is like the commissioner or deputy commissioner. Like he fits the role in the blaxploitation film of like evil white guy. Like that's the only reason he's there, to put a face to the white devil. And we don't do we spend 20 seconds with that character? Like
I don't think we see him until the very end, right?
We see him at the end, and like most of his portrayal is just like kind of being in a fight scene and then kind of being caught off guard.
Yeah.
So there's not much there, but
no, it's more of like this. He's kind of like this presence. Like they're talking about him. You don't actually see him. He's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. It's like, well, there's this guy, and he's at the top, and he's gonna make your life miserable if you don't do what we want you to do. So, and we're not supposed to know about him, or we don't know much about him because Priest is not supposed to know about him, but because he got all that information from Scatter, he knows everything about him.
Right.
So I think that's why we don't really see him in the original, because
totally
the main character's not supposed to know him.
Totally, and it's effective, right? Like this idea that this guy that just like he's running your life. You will never even see him, but he's got he's pulling all the strings. The detectives coming into the equation in the remake, it's another one where like you can take that out too. like you don't need to have the scenario to then have to wrap up, right? Like I feel like again Turk Franklin, in the same way I say Reardon is kind of like a placeholder for just white, like corrupt whiteness. Turk Franklin clearly fits that role, which is
right.
I think why we get sort of his fate at the end of the movie, where he basically just kind of gets his ass kicked. I think it's like, as social commentary, like we said, they're playing up to a crowd that would like to see a corrupt cop that kills black people arbitrarily kind of get their comeuppance.
Right.
But, it doesn't really service the plot, because you've created, between the snow patrol and the cops, like the cops are used to get rid of the snow patrol.
Right.
And then something else is used to get rid of the cops. Right. So it's like, it offsets. Like in the equation, X plus Y equals Z. You also have X plus A, which equals 0, plus B, which equals 0, equals Z. Like there's just, I would say this is my one complaint. They serve no real purpose narratively. You get some cool scenes out of them, but like it's kind of pointless, and we don't need them in a movie.
Yeah. Now that you're talking about it, I guess they are less important than the Mexican cartel thing. You could have just focused on the cartel for the rest of the movie, pretty much, because I'm just trying to think of what they actually add. And the only thing I can think of is like, because they're the only way you can get rid of the snow patrol. That's the only reason you
could do that for Shootout too.
Yeah.
Like what they do is they're cops, right? Like the original had cops, we have cops here.
Yeah.
They're corrupt. They are the reason Freddy dies. So like we're still tethered to this original in that way. But all they're doing is skimming money from priests.
Right.
Like that's all they're doing. And I
Mhm.
guess at one point they like steal his drugs, thinking that like they're getting over on him,
Right.
but they're not. They're actually kind of playing in the priest's
Right.
plan. But like again, they like I actually think that they're in terms of portrayal, I think they're strong characters. I just think they're
Mhm.
pointless.
Yeah. No. Now that I'm thinking about it and you're saying, yeah, they do not really do anything to drive the story forward because they were the connect in the original. That's how we got our drugs. So they're absolutely essential, but we already got the drugs
Right.
in this one. So, and the consequences of working with them aren't really affecting anything. Yeah, we lost Freddy, but that was even before they started working with them, and they just helped us take out Snow Patrol, who we also said wasn't necessary for this movie. So yeah, yeah. I didn't think about that until now, but yeah, it's a good point. They really could have just focused on the Mexican cartel.
They could have. The movie, I think, is trying to go for like scope and scale in a way that I do appreciate because the original movie is lacks in it. Like as I watched the original one, I was like, there's really not much to this story. Like at all, you know, like I went out, I got the drugs, I sold the drugs. It's kind of rough. And
Here's another Curtis Mayfield song.
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't hear it the first two times. Let's get it.
That bass line.
You're my friend, you know me. Oh man, it's so good. So good.
It's a great song. But like, yeah, the remake, that's the problem, right? There's just too many things. And like, it does kind of work out to be a cohesive package, but like, there's a lot of frivolous parts to it. Like you mentioned, the movie runtime's almost 2 hours, and like, you could easily cut 20, 30 and still get it across. I didn't feel like it was overkill. Like I didn't feel bored watching it.
No.
But I was confused by some of the strings.
Right. No, it's still entertaining to watch. Like, you know, just seeing the corrupt cops get used and then ultimately get what's coming to them. Even though I feel like that one cop just getting beat up, that didn't feel
that
like,
was weak.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you kill the guy who was and his girl who were completely innocent, and you just get beat up. Like he didn't even get like kicked off the force like the other cop did, and she didn't kill anybody that we saw. So you know, it just felt like him getting beat up was a little weak, and you can't just kill the cop. So like, but him getting kicked off the force might have been great. How about that? We can still do that somehow.
Yeah, I think he's really there because like, you know, it's 2018.
Right.
Clearly, I mean, from the 70s movie is commentary on police in the Black community and like how they're doing, which we know is true, like between like the Iran Contra thing, like crack and stuff like that. Like there's a long history of police corruption and its influence on the Black community, which has still like reverberated to the fact that in 2018, a movie that like would still have commentary about police corruption in the Black community. And like, I think that the scene, though frivolous and kind of like you mentioned, it's not really satisfying to anyone that wants like actual justice for what happened to Freddie. But like, I think it's for the artists that made it. I think it was their attempt to kind of like say, this is what we wish would happen to people that do this type of thing to us, I guess. But
but wouldn't you want him kicked off the force too? Like,
you would want that.
Just saying, like you got one cop arrested. Why not? Why wasn't that a package deal? They could have easily both been arrested. Right there.
Totally. I think that because they introduced this "I'm a hero" cop element in a way that like doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah. And you didn't have to. You could have. You didn't have to say the cop was a hero. Like,
I didn't think he was a hero because he shot the guy. Right. Like.
They were calling him a hero because he shot Freddy, because they were calling him hero cop on the news after that happened. So that was one of the reasons he was called a hero.
I guess though, like you said, like he could have just been arrested, right? Like,
he could have just been arrested too. Yeah,
this hero thing doesn't make sense. But you know, the director, like I mentioned before, his background tends to be more like music videos and stuff like that. I don't know how many other films he's directed. So like to me, this feels like this is a narrative that could fit in like a music video, right? Like the guy comes back and he like beats up the cop and he walks off and now he's in a boat, you know? Like,
now he's in a boat.
Yeah. It's like I think it's again from like an artist's expression, not necessarily like the movie itself doesn't need this at all. I think like for a group that feels like this pressure of the police force and how they've affected them, just having the image of a cop getting something resembling like their comeuppance, I think was something that they felt they needed to do. I don't feel like they needed to do it. But, hey man, if you got a multi-million-dollar budget and you can beat up a cop in your movie, go ahead. You know, if you're that upset about the police, sure. Like, but in terms of the plot and the narrative, no, stupid. I think I mean at this point we might as well talk about the endings because I think cleaning up the loose ends is basically the ending, and I think they're like going through how much they have to go through to clean up the loose ends in the remake. We could go on for quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, so should we start with the original ending then?
Let's do that. That's
okay.
Easier.
So I guess we'll start in the apartment where Eddie's given the money, or given Priest pretty much his cut, right?
Yeah.
So like we say, there's that scene. He's like, you're just gonna make me do this. I'm gonna watch you every minute. So Eddie fills up the briefcase with his half. And then you got the Curtis Mayfield guitar just in the background. It's going, and the tension's rising. You're like, what's happening? I'm trying to figure out what's happening. Priest makes it to the elevator. As soon as he gets to the elevator, Eddie's already on the phone with the cops, just telling him like he's out. You gotta do something because he's out. The elevator stops on a random floor. Some bag lady comes in, but it's not a bag lady. It's Georgia, and they do the old switcheroo right there. So he has a random briefcase while she has the actual briefcase full of the money. He leaves the building. The cops see him right away pretty much, and he gets taken away. They're at some dock or something, sure, where all the cops are there, and this is where we finally see Reardon, finally, and they're like, well, you're not out. You don't get to just decide you're out. We say when you're out. This is when he kind of is more like the Priest in the remake, because he's like, well, I know about you. Let me tell you about you. Well, first there's a fight. First there's an awesome fight. I didn't want to skip over that. A super awesome, super slow motion fight where everything is in slow motion. It is fantastic.
Like Priest is getting beat up by these cops, and he kind of like lands on top of this trash can. He pulls like the lid off the trash can and goes. I mean, like literally, it's like that in the movie, and you just see the guy take the hit, and he's just like his face is bleeding. He's like, oh,
yeah, blood all over his face. It was so good.
And it's like you said, these slow motion punches and like karate kicks, and like Priest is messing these guys up.
Yeah,
it
helps because we know he's a karate master because we saw him training before. Plus, he's very young, and these are very old white men he's fighting.
Yes.
So that also helps.
Yes, and what's great about this scene is that like in its own way, this movie has established that like there's no repercussions for police officers killing black people in this movie. Freddie dies, I don't know, write a report or something like that. Nobody cares, right? We can just make Scatter OD, and no one can stop us. So like Priest is in this unwinnable situation, which is I have to keep selling drugs for these corrupt cops or I'm dead. And in this situation, he's fighting back, and he's got his ticket out because, after he basically overtakes everyone, Reardon gets up and I believe puts a gun on him, and he's like, all right, Reardon, okay. And now we're at that part you were talking about.
Yeah.
He uses some pretty aggressive language.
Well, if you remember it, go ahead by all means.
Well, he's like, Reardon's pointing a gun at him, and he's like, more like, that's enough. And he's like, nah, I'll tell you what's enough, Reardon. Yeah, I know your name. I know your name. I know about your wife and your 2 kids and your son, who I guess is gay or something like that.
Oh, yeah. He does use some aggressive language there.
Necessary.
And then your daughter with her thick legs or something.
Yeah, and the violin lessons or whatever. Like, I don't know. He knows way too much about him. He's like, not only do I know about your family, I took out a hit on your family. And I didn't use black guys. I used good, old-fashioned white killers.
Yeah, white killers. God damn.
He hired mafia guys to basically take a hit out on Reardon in case he died. And Reardon's like, with what money? You don't have $100,000 for a hit. And he's like, I've got your briefcase, right? It's empty. This drug dealer, kid from the street, nothing going for him, chip stacked against him, not only gets free reign to kick a bunch of white people's asses, they're also cops. So you get double white people ass kicking points. And he's so much smarter than them that he took out a hit on him and they can't do anything. He's like, you know what? If you touch a hair on my pretty head, you'll finish. And it's just like, whoa, man. And he gets out, drives off, gets his own car and drives off into the sunset. And he's like, yeah, man, I thought of everything. Does it hold up against like real scrutiny? Maybe not, but like, it's a great ending. It is what does make blaxploitation work to an extent. You've got a guy that's able to live outside of this sort of corrupt and racist system, and like through just being like we said this before during like Guess Who, like an Idris Elba type, like a super black guy, like someone that's able to think of everything, someone that's able to always get the girl, someone that can kick your ass. He's got money, he's got freedom in that way. Like, here he is. I just took out Whitey, man, and I'm gonna go, get myself out of the game. It's a great ending.
The only thing, I guess, because we're going to talk about how the remake ties up every loose end. The only thing out there is you have no idea what happened to Eddie, because Eddie betrayed him. So is he going to go back, get his revenge, or is he just going to be like, you know what? I knew that was going to happen anyway, so I'm just going to, get out of here with Georgia while I'm ahead,
Yeah, exactly. That loose end does not get tied up. I mentioned earlier, I thought they had left and gone somewhere else, but like Georgia was obviously the character. So like, I don't know exactly where they went. I don't know exactly how much money they had, but I'm assuming it was enough to get out of the game. Mm-hmm. Or if it wasn't enough, the cops can't mess with him because he's got a hit out on Reardon. Yeah. So that's, for what they presented, that's a clean enough exit.
Yeah, he's out. He's got his woman, and he's, he can't get touched. So that's what he said he wanted, and that's what he got.
Yep.
Can't complain, right?
Can't complain. And I mean, like I said, this guy, the Superfly ends up being the drugs, really, like the cocaine is Superfly. It's that good, that pure. Mm-hmm. But like, yeah, this guy, he was super, like literally Superfly. Drug dealers, splat, women, bang, money, have, cops, asses kicked. Like, it's still very cathartic for me even now, as ridiculous as the movie is. They're like, yeah, this guy got everything he wanted, man. It's a fairly goofy, thin plot, but it served its purpose. Like, it's a fun little ride, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. All that time he's perming his hair, he's thinking all these schemes up. Yep. So time well spent, I guess.
Seriously. Now the remake. Let's just let's pull back, right? Like we'll go back to from Scatter basically on.
Yeah,
right.
That's what I was thinking.
So we've now created this situation where Scatter's pissed off at him, the cartel's pissed off at him, Snow Patrol's pissed off at him, and these corrupt cops are pissed off at him. So that right there, there's 4 different groups that Youngblood Priest has to get through to get out of the game. I mentioned that Georgia was kind of like the briefcase type woman. They have a plan to go to Montenegro, become like citizens through like a bribe, basically at the consulate. How the hell they pull that off? I mean, whatever. But that's
money.
the plan.
Money talks, right?
Exactly. So how do we get this priest from the streets of Atlanta to Montenegro? All right. First, we got to deal with Scatter. Scatter knows that you've been going behind his back and going to his plug, right? So he smartly loops in the plug. Dumbly, as we talked about earlier, turns out the plug is mad at Scatter because he's been skimming. They kill Scatter. So boom, boom, boom. The cartel is rock, paper, scissors. Cartel Scatter's out. All right. Now you
don't forget, as he's killing Scatter, he also mentions some details so that Priest can use that information against him later. He does mention our cartel leader. Let me just get his name here. Yeah, I just want to mention how dumb he is. So Gonzalez, let's just call him. He has a brother. Well, he has a weird family dynamic, like like this mother. We kind of mentioned that before. Priest says like, "There's something about your mother." Like his mother likes his brother better than him, but right now his brother's in jail, and that's kind of how Priest got all his information, because he has guys in prison too, so he knows all about Gonzalez brothers and their whole family ordeal. And as Scatter is being put in this eco-friendly cremation machine. He also mentions that, I'm the reason my brother's in jail. I put him there. I put him away. Blah, blah, blah. Look at me. I rule.
Right.
That comes to bite him later on the ass, but go on, Reggie.
Totally does. So, the Gonzalez cartel has the matriarch, this brother who we never see, but from what we understand, he was kind of like a reckless, almost like an Eddie type of character. And Gonzalez, as we'll call him now, wants his mother's favor because he's the smart one. Hey, I'm keeping us safe. I'm protecting the family. So, like you mentioned, for some reason, he tells Priest that, like, I got my brother locked up because he was a liability and I'm too smart. Okay, so Scatter's gone. He's smart. Priest is still in his situation. So Priest gets back and realizes now, because first he got shot at outside the club. That was a come to Jesus moment for him. Then he watched Scatter get murdered. That was another like, oh man, this is getting too crazy. So when he gets back to the States, he still has a bit of a snow patrol problem. Juju is coming after him still. Juju, like you mentioned, his singular focus is to get rid of Priest because he doesn't like him for reasons that are loose. Juju and gang come to Youngblood's house, shoots up the house, shotguns his girlfriend Cynthia through the ceiling, and she's bleeding out. She's clearly dying because her parts are outside that are supposed to be inside of her body. And Youngblood's like, hand me some rags and those bottles of liquor. We're gonna burn down this house with the snow patrol in it, which sparks that scene that you're talking about where they drive their cars through Atlanta, trying to escape. So in that driving action sequence, we kill off Q, the snow patrol leader, but we still have a Juju problem. Youngblood now recognize that, like, okay, Scatter's dead, Freddy's dead, the cartel's after me, Snow Patrol's definitely after me, and these corrupt cops are giving me a hard time. So we still have that problem. A character we didn't really talk about, but like Big Boy, the rapper who plays like Mayor, I think his name is Mayor Jenkins, don't quote me on that, but like he's a sort of a corrupt mayor. Priest has somehow got footage of the mayor with like hookers and money and coke.
Doing cocaine off their asses.
It's a pretty funny scene. He's like, yo, let me take a selfie with you. And this is a video of all this going on. And the mayor's like, well, what do you want? And he's like, well, I want a few things. But I'm also going to help you get reelected, which we didn't know was part of the plot until then, but the mayor needs help getting reelected. So the mayor hands him a file, and Priest is part of the equation is to like give the mayor corrupt cops, right? So Priest convinces the corrupt cops that the Snow Patrol is a problem for them because Snow Patrol is trying to kill him. And how are they going to skim money from Priest if he's killed? So he sets up Snow Patrol to get taken out by like the corrupt cops and the SWAT team.
But before that happens, because we see Eddie go to Snow Patrol first.
Great point.
Yeah. So Eddie shows up at Snow Patrol, and like we said, if you had seen the original, you know that Eddie betrays Priest. So Eddie shows up, and he shows up. Every gun is on him, and he's like, "What? I'm here. I want to go with the winning team." Pretty much is what he says. And he goes, "I know where the money is, but I'm gonna need you to take me there alive because I don't trust you right now." So then we see Eddie show up at the furniture store, which was kind of their front to ship the drugs to the different locations. And Eddie shows up. He's official. Yeah, he's wearing the white. So they show up. They go in. They're looking for the money, and then all of a sudden, the cops just show up and just start blasting, and everybody is fucking killed in Snow Patrol.
Yo, Priest! Priest!
Don't move! And that is the end of Snow Patrol.
Yep.
Our corrupt cop, Jennifer Morrison's character, I believe, takes the bricks, and now she's like, well, great, I can exploit Priest and Eddie Morris. Like, I've got your bricks. You're gonna need to bring me money to get these back because you weren't giving me enough money before. Whatever. She's got the bricks, and when she tries to set up a meeting to pick up this coke, well, Priest doesn't show up, but you know who does? Atlanta PD. So the police department picks up this corrupt cop. And she's like, now the mayor can campaign off the fact that, like, look, I'm cleaning up police corruption. So he gets 6 points in the polls. So he's going to win re-election easily. And to your point, I didn't want to skip over because you're right. Eddie in the Snow Patrol outfit was, I thought he was on the other team, man, but he stuck with Priest. So the file that the mayor had handed Priest as part of this deal had some information about an informant from the Gonzalez cartel. Turns out there was a file about this guy who told him his brother to get him out of the picture so that his mother would like him more in the cartel. She finds out, and like you mentioned, like Narcos like style, she's a badass. She's like Zelda Blanca. And she shows up and is like, doesn't speak any English. She's like all Spanish. I know a little bit of Spanish. I'm like, I heard hijo, like her son. I'm hearing he's calling her stupid, calling the other brother stupid. Straps this guy to a fucking like gurney, basically, puts him in a cremation machine alive.
Eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly. And then you know he's dead because you see some blood goop come out of the eco-friendly cartel thing. So that's the cartel problem because I don't think she knows or cares about Priest. So we took him out, or maybe he traded that information for his freedom. It's like, we don't necessarily know that, but there goes the cartel.
Mm-hmm.
So we scattered dead because the cartel killed him, rock, paper, scissors. The cartel gets trumped by the mayor's file. The mayor, who's not really after Priest, but gets to trump the police. The police also trump the Snow Patrol. So in this crazy negotiation deal, Priest is taken care of, Scatter by accident, the cartel on purpose, Snow Patrol sort of by accident but on purpose, the corrupt cop through the mayor, and that's all the loose ends for somehow. Except for one more cop who we already talked about. Yeah, what do you got?
Well, I was just gonna mention that one cop that he just fights with him.
Oh yeah, so. but one more cop who, the hero cop that we described, and as we already mentioned, he doesn't put him away. He just kind of beats him up mercilessly, breaks his arm, batters his body, and just kind of like walks away. You know, you would think there would be dashboard cam, so I don't know how that worked out, but okay. But no, it was an interesting scene. You know, he takes the cop's gun and he's like, "I'm not gonna shoot you with this gun. Square up, bro. Let's go."
Yeah.
You get a Rocky V Street fight. I didn't hear no bell.
Touch me and I sue.
And then the movie more or less ends with young blood priests in Georgia on a super yacht in Montenegro. And he's like, yeah, you know, I guess I took the American dream with me. He calls Eddie on the phone so that we know they're still friends. And he's like, yo, Eddie, man, there's still space for you. Eddie's like, why would I leave now, baby? I'm on top. He's still playing dice. But he's got a nice fur coat that's not white. It's a like a black or brown fur coat. So you know he's still boys with young blood priests. And yeah, I mean, look, Priest is sipping champagne in Montenegro. He's out of the game and he's got no worries. The end.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in.
And it all kind of happens almost like right on top of each other.
Yeah, like back to back to back to back to back. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like we said, a lot of those plot elements, a lot of these people didn't have to be in this movie, and because you introduced them, you did have to tie every loose end, and they somehow did, you know. So kudos to the movie for somehow
I've
tying
seen
everything
worse.
together. Yeah, I've definitely seen worse. I mean, you could have easily left some things unanswered, but they were like, nope, we're going over everything. Stay on board, man. So, you know, good for them for being able to tie up everything, but again, we didn't need all these different elements at the end of the day.
It's like the mayor is kind of like a funny character that doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
He's introduced loosely in like the gallery scene, and you can tell in that scene that he has like a penchant for like womanizing.
He's a creep. He's just like trying to grab George's ass right there. It's like, all right.
But you know, if you do a movie in Atlanta that's kind of like because again, the director X is like a rap guy. So like, look, you got rappers like Chris Brown was in the movie. You got Big Boy. So if you're in Atlanta, Big Boy is like rap royalty out there. So yeah, let's give him a spot in the movie for the rap crowd. He does a good job of being a kind of sleazy, corrupt mayor. The cartel thing, you know, it's just there's a lot, right? Like you mentioned, and it does all wrap up clean enough, but like I less. Like you could take out one or more of the elements and still get the same story.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not to say it wasn't fun, because it certainly was enjoyable, and it wasn't boring, but it's a lot to take in, and your movie's a half an hour longer than the original, and didn't have to be.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, is that like I appreciate the film doing what it did, but it's like I can't specifically complain about any one element because there was enough there of each of them that I enjoyed. Honestly, my least favorite group were the corrupt cops, which I felt like were only there because
of the original.
The original.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of fit into its own kind of mold in the story, and like, you know, killing an unarmed Freddy and skimming coke wasn't like really that influential, because ultimately, if you're talking about the original, Priest is stuck with the cartel the way that Priest was stuck with the cops in the original. The cops in the remake, he's not really, I mean, they're there and they are a problem, but like they're far less of a problem than the cartel. So, but like you said, I'm not complaining per se, but if I were, that's what I would be complaining about. There's just too many elements unnecessarily, but I did enjoy enough of them.
All right, so that's all the characters and pretty much all the plot. There's not really much to talk about except for maybe a little bit of that music, because can't talk about the original Superfly without talking about that music by Curtis Mayfield. Like I said, the only thing I knew about Superfly before watching the movie was the music, and especially Pusher.
Secret stash, heavy bread, baddest bitches in the bed. I'm your pusher man.
Just that song, such a classic song, and oh boy, do they they have that song in this movie a lot. You see Curtis play it like live, where the movie just stops and we just see Curtis and his band just performing. It's like, all right, I'm not complaining, but you know, it's a thing that happens in the movie. Then we hear that song again later during this weird picture montage, which I guess is when they had the Connect and they were just showing how the drugs get everywhere, but it didn't look organized. It looked like just random pictures of people at a certain point. It was just, I was like, who works for Priest here? I'm so fucking confused. So that was fun in a weird way.
Yeah, it was kind of like supposed to be like the equivalent of like in a Scarface movie where it's like push it to the limit montage, but like you're right, it was just like these disconnected random people doing coke or selling coke. It was kind of fun actually. It felt like a Hallmark.
It was a little fun because you had the construction worker guy at his job, and then when he's home doing the cocaine, he keeps the hat on. He doesn't take that fucking hat off. So I enjoyed that.
I like you said, it was so random.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy the randomness of it. I was like, this is kind of
if you're trying to find a narrative in that montage, you're gonna be struggling for a long time because it's just like what? Okay, Curtis Mayfield, sure. I'll just listen to the song and take it all in.
Totally.
So just I don't know what else to say about the soundtrack.
I mean that bass line, dude. Just like the first time they played it in the movie. It's like,
it's like it starts
finally come down a little bit over time, but it's a really, really good soundtrack. I mean, like the star of the movie, not taking anything away from Ron Neal, who's great, but the music is the star of this movie. Like that soundtrack is just
it really sets the tone. I mean,
you
know where you are and you know where you're going because it's like, okay, this type of music, here we go. All right.
It's like Kanye West had a song like every hero needs their theme music, and it's like, yeah, man, this is the theme music for Youngblood Priest.
Absolutely. We do get the song. We get Pusher at least in the remake, and I was happy that it was there, and I thought it fit, because it's mostly hip hop soundtrack, but then you throw this in there, and it worked for me. I wasn't like, oh, that was dumb, and I was glad it wasn't some dumb cover of the song. I'd rather hear the original because the original is so classic, and to hear it in the remake, I appreciated that.
Like if they were gonna do a hip hop version of it, like maybe like you could use like Ice-T's Pusher, which like effectively sampled that song back in the day. But like, no, I'm glad they just went with the original. They didn't hit it over the head, right? Like they only used it like once, and then everything else was just more modernized rap music. That worked well. As much as the original probably overuses that song, the soundtrack is much more memorable of the original versus the remake.
Right.
The music was good, but it was background.
Yeah.
It was like in the original, that music is just like hits you right over the head.
Yeah. Like you said, it's like a character in the movie.
It really is.
And because it's all Curtis Mayfield, it's like the same style throughout the whole film, right? All these different songs that he wrote for it, as opposed to the remake where you have a bunch of different artists. And I'm not too big on rap. I don't know. I didn't know any of the songs that they were playing throughout the movie, except Pusher when I heard that. So, and obviously Ryden when the cop was singing. I knew that one. That was cracking me up. So.
Yeah, that was funny. But like even I don't know the names of each songs, but like that kind of like the song at the beginning of the movie. The hook is basically like, he's like, I'm a ghetto child, blah, blah, trying to get over like that. Like everything in the Curtis Mayfield soundtrack felt like it fit with the narrative that they were trying to tell.
Yeah.
And, there are hundreds, thousands of blaxploitation movies. I think the real reason that this one has permeated what is that music. Like,
right. Absolutely.
It's the cream of the crop in terms of music that came out of that period.
That's all I have to say about that. Any other points that we might have missed, or anything you just want to make sure you go over?
No, I think we got it. I mean, really, for me, just hitting the point that the remake probably overextends itself at times,
right?
And that the original just has a rocking soundtrack. Like those are the two quick hits for me.
Fair enough. All right. Well, it appears we are at the end, Reggie. So here it is, our verdict. Reggie, should the remake of Superfly exist?
Yeah, so I remember, like I was saying before, that I saw the trailer for the Superfly, and what struck me was, again, kind of like the original film, was the hair, right? Like I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting take on that, like 70s kind of like pimp style haircut. the production looked good, and it looked like a pretty slick movie. And as I watched it, I was like, huh, you know what? This is a surprisingly, in my opinion, well-produced film. The storyline was cohesive. The actors, maybe the lead was, I think he was okay. He's a little bit stiffer than I kind of wanted from him, but he got the job done. Trevor Jackson got the job done. I never felt at any point in the movie that I was bored. I never felt like that the elements that they had introduced were like so frivolous that it was making me not want to watch the movie. I just felt like it was a very competent remake that really figured out how to take elements from its original source material and modernize it. And it did its own thing, told its own story, subverted some of my expectations with Eddie, fleshed out some of the women characters in the movie. And yeah, I just thought it was like, didn't like blow my socks off, but like it was a very competent, good remake that actually like tried to tell that story with more detail. So I appreciated that. So I would say the remake should exist. And, you know, if someone's interested, I would recommend it if you're interested in seeing like the continuation of Superfly. So yeah, it should exist.
Yeah, when I was going to watch the remake after watching the original, I was just thinking like, how are they going to do this? Because it's so 70s soul, right? It's just like, it's so like in the movie. It's like, how do you do this modern? Like, how do you make a modern take of it? Like, do you still like have that kind of soul flavor, that Curtis Mayfield style? And I think they were able to really find their own footing with it. Like you, I wasn't really bored. I always say, man, if you're going to make a remake longer, you better make it good and interesting, because I'm going to be watching the clock. And I didn't find myself watching the clock too much. They threw a lot into the pot, but it was interesting what they did with it. And sure, they could have cut a few things here or there, and then when you say it out loud, oh yeah, that does seem kind of stupid. But overall, I did find myself enjoying it. And I think some parts I definitely enjoyed more than the original, just because the original was just like, it's really gritty, and there's a lot of just like, they focus on that soundtrack so much, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but like some parts I just got a little bit bored. We didn't talk about this, but I wanted to talk about just the locations, because the original takes place in Harlem and the remake takes place in Atlanta, but it goes beyond that scope because we have to go to Mexico, and then they even show other locations. So it's a bigger movie. It has a bigger feel to it overall, and I like the performances in the remake. Yeah, I thought that what they did with the priest, Trevor Jackson's portrayal, I thought it was absolutely fine. The hair, it's not as wild, but it still like catches your eye. It's like, that's some pretty hair, man. Like I gotta keep looking at that hair. So yeah, I like the love interests, what they did with George and Cynthia. I thought they were just stronger characters in this film, and I like some of the other characters too, but some of the characters I thought got done a little bit dirty in the remake, especially Scatter. So overall, I'd say not a great remake, but a pretty solid one. If you enjoyed the Superfly, I think you'll enjoy this for sure.
Yeah, for like kind of like drug kingpin getting out of the game story, like it's pretty like hits all the cliches that you would expect. I mean, even like the cartel itself is like, it's just such a
right. Well, let's just we got the drugs from Mexico. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah. You're right, that location we didn't get to talk about, but like Harlem in the 70s had its own vibe and feel.
Yeah. I think it really captured that grit of Harlem in the 70s. I think it did too. It's because, like we said, there's a lot of chase scenes, so there's a lot of exterior shots of just Harlem, and it captured it really well in that original film.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really well done. And just like they kind of like captured that sort of concrete jungle, you know, down and dirty in the streets feel, which is actually really impressive given the type of film. And the remake, you know, like smart. Atlanta was a smart place to base this film because again, kind of like a more urbanized, like modern city. There's a lot of Black influence in the city. It just felt of the time. So like you mentioned, it's not that great of like a movie, but it's not a bad movie. It's kind of like in that C tier of like, yeah, this is fine. Got nothing to complain about, and I'm glad I wouldn't take back watching. I was like, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it, and my one big beef with the original was that as I was watching, I was like, this is flimsy. There is not much holding this together. So I'm glad the remake fleshed it out, and I think they, for the most part, hit their goal.
Yeah, because I've known about Superfly, and like I said, it just had that Curtis Mayfield in my head. I think it was a tall order to do a remake of that because it's just such an iconic character in film, and I think they pulled it off pretty well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Trevor Jackson, who I'm not too familiar with a lot of his work, but like I said, he felt a little stiff at times for me in some of the scenes, but like he did a lot of heavy lifting. It's not easy to be the focal point of a movie that long, and I think he pulled it off.
Well, you think about this, like he's trying to keep a low profile, right? He doesn't want to be seen, so he talks really quiet, which is I was fine with. And then, he's more of a man of action. He's not going to threaten somebody by just yelling at them. He's gonna just act. So I was fine with sort of his quiet, held back portrayal.
Yeah. I know you brought up the scene at the shooting range. I just wanted to shout out too that like his outfit at the shooting range was fire. He had like the golf pants and that were fitted, and I think like some kind of black sweater. I was like, this guy looks great. It's like, if you're gonna be a murderer, do it in style.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna try to fashion my hair after him, man. Yeah, I think my hair's pretty thick. I can do that. No, it is.
I'm gonna try to go the other direction. I'm gonna have to like perm this out.
Nice.
Oh man, cool, man.
Yeah, enjoyable film. Even though, like I said, half hour longer, but it doesn't really feel it. So,
yeah,
do yourselves a favor if you haven't seen either film. Definitely check out both of them.
Yeah, totally. What do we want to do next time?
That's a good question. I saw a movie on HBO that was a remake. I didn't see the whole thing, but Sam was watching it. And I was like, oh, wow, they have a remake of this? It was The Witches. I don't know if you wanted to do that one. I don't know if you're familiar with that one.
Nah, but I mean, watch it. I don't care.
All right. Let's change it up. It's sort of a kid's movie.
I know what you're talking about, actually.
Right, where they turn into okay. So let's change it up. We just did blaxploitation. Let's go to a children's film, I guess. Yeah, that's certainly a change. So I was gonna check out
chart works.
I think we should check out The Witches. I saw it. It's on HBO. So it looked interesting because Sam was watching it, and I was like, oh, I want to watch it, but I feel like we're going to do it for an episode, so I don't want to watch it at the same time. So, well, now I can watch it. The Witches.
Totally, like I said, my significant other definitely has been into like the witchy movies and stuff like that, like The Craft and stuff like that. So I'm down.
Cool. All right, so next episode is The Witches. That does it for today. Thanks to everybody who listened. If you want to leave a comment below or anywhere, you can leave a comment on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram. Leave it there. If you want to give us 5 stars on iTunes, we'd greatly appreciate that too to help the channel grow.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything, Reggie.
Nothing. I'm Reggie Parker.
And I'm Dan Biolik. This has been another episode of Retro versus Remake.